Chapter 464. Indeed. Qin Meng's smile was like a flower. By the time you see my sword, you will already be dead. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and suddenly pinched. Qin Meng just happened to appear in front of him, and the rapier in her hand was easily pinched by Li Fan's 2 fingers. Great sage plucking the stars. Li Fan easily pinched Qin Meng's rapier, causing Qin Meng to be shocked. Her snow sword was the fastest rapier in the world. Even heartless Blade Yu she could not keep up with her sword techniques. And this rising star of the pugilistic world in front of her, how did he manage to catch her rapier? Was it luck? Qin Meng shook her sword energy and flicked away Li Fan's fingers, then instantly thrust it out 10 times. Li Fan placed 2 fingers in front of him and continuously flicked away Qin Meng's rapier. No matter how hard Qin Meng tried, her opponent's rapier was unable to harm her at all. Impossible. Qin Meng did not dare to believe her eyes. Li Fan actually blocked all of her sword techniques. Other than the sect leader, there was actually someone else who could do it. How would she know that Li Fan possessed a pair of eyes, which was the nemesis of her rapier? Have you played enough? Li Fan held on to Qin Meng's rapier with one hand and said at the same time, "If you've played enough, it's time for me to make my move." Li Fan's Ape King cannon directly smashed onto Qin Meng's lower abdomen. Bang! Qin Meng's body immediately turned into a cannonball and flew out, crashing into the wall behind her and creating a crater in the wall. The might of Li Fan's Ape King cannon was not light. After taking this move, even Qin Meng could not help but vomit a mouthful of blood. One slash to the throat. Li Fan pointed at his throat. Then why don't you give it a try? A mere little overlord is too arrogant. As Qin Meng spoke, she pulled herself out of the crater with killing intent in her eyes. I'll take your life. As she spoke, Qin Meng had already appeared in front of Li Fan. The rapier in her hand almost brushed past Li Fan's cheek, stabbing empty air. Li Fan looked at the sharp rapier and stretched out 3 fingers. I'll defeat you within 3 moves. Dream on. Qin Meng's sword slashed out 10 after images, but Li Fan had already appeared on her right side, easily dodging Qin Meng's attack. At the same time, Li Fan sent a palm strike towards Qin Meng, but it was blocked by her own umbrella. This umbrella was made of alloy and was very sturdy. Qin Meng usually did not use it. When she used it, it was only when her life was at stake. She could often use it to turn the situation around. However, when Li Fan's palm landed on the umbrella, a palm print appeared on the umbrella. The huge force caused the umbrella to fly out of Qin Meng's hand. Pu. Li Fan's tiger claw grabbed onto Qin Meng's neck, and his fingers gently sank into Qin Meng's flesh. As long as Li Fan used a little more strength, Qin Meng's throat would be crushed by him. Next time, if you want to kill me, send a stronger assassin. You don't live up to your name. As he spoke, Li Fan pushed with his hand, throwing Qin Meng's body out. Qin Meng landed on the snowy ground, half squatting there with an ugly expression on her face. Your life will be mine sooner or later. She knew that she would not be able to take down Li Fan today, so she simply picked up the umbrella that was sent flying and used it to slide away. Her movement technique is not bad. Li Fan wiped off the blood on his hand. The next time you meet her, remember to dodge the moment her wrist moves. You will be easily tricked by her fake movements. She was somewhat unconvinced. Also, aren't you afraid that something will happen to the company by coming to find me? Is it because of that little girl from Huashan? Little senior sister Xia Yi? Li Fan laughed. It's not peaceful these 2 days, so I let little senior sister stay in the hotel first. How can I let little senior sister participate in such a messy matter? You're very considerate of her. When Yushi said this, she was slightly jealous. After all, little senior sister came from a place without any disputes. Li Fan hurriedly explained, her heart is still very weak. Huashan has just experienced a huge dispute. Yushi stared at Li Fan. Not only Huashan, you should also go to Wudong Mountain to take a look. Wudong Mountain? What happened to Wudong Mountain? This is the reason why I came to find you. Yushi said, your fiancé is already trapped in Wudong Mountain. The devil cult has occupied that place. What? Li Fan didn't quite believe it. What kind of strength did Murong Ying have? In the current martial arts world, how many people could be her opponent? She was trapped in Wudong Mountain by the devil cult. That's not possible, right? In short, she fell into the devil cult's trap. The higher-ups have informed me to rescue her. I think you might be willing to go with me. Yushi glanced at Li Fan, but I think it's better for you to deal with the matters in your hands. No need, let's go now. Li Fan looked confident. My brothers are in the company, there won't be any problems. The yellow uniform group has made a big move, can they be relied on? I trust them. Li Fan nodded. We've done bigger things than that. If we don't even trust each other, how can we do big things together? Before coming out, Ling Tian had guaranteed to Li Fan that there would be no problems with the company. Since you're so confident, then let's go now. Yushi trusted Li Fan. Are we going to use Qinggong or take a car? Li Fan asked. Neither. Yushi pointed to the tall building in the distance. The helicopter is already waiting for us. Fuck, she's a tycoon. Li Fan gave up and followed Yushi into the helicopter. At that moment, the yellow uniform group had already begun to attack the small earthen building under Sharkanov's leadership. However, the courtyard of the earthen building had been repaired and was now 4 meters high, covered in glass shards. To be able to come down from above, half of them would be crippled. Even for Sun Jialiang, it was not convenient for him to make a big deal out of it. The last time, the yellow uniform group had already gone overboard and caused too much of an impact in the city. Therefore, this time, Sun Jialiang needed to kill them in one shot. He did not send too many people, only 20 gunmen. These 20 gunmen each had a 54 black star that was bought at a high price in the black market. Tonight was the 15th day of the first lunar month. Every household would set off firecrackers. The sound of firecrackers could cover up the gunshot. Sharkanov led the 20 gunmen and sneaked to the back door of the earthen building. The back door was only 2 meters high. This was the only way to sneak into the earthen building. Sharkanov waved his hand at the 2-meter-tall iron gate. 2 gunmen immediately came under the door and stretched out their hands. As for the other 2 gunmen, they stepped on their arms and pushed them to the top of the door. Chapter 465. These gunmen were well trained. 2 of them were lifted up and easily crossed the 2-meter distance to land on the other side of the door. Sharkanov nodded and ordered the 2 gunmen behind him to jump over to the other side. After sending the 6 gunmen over, Sharkanov suddenly felt that something was wrong. Too quiet. It was indeed too quiet. Those who went over, reply quickly. Sharkanov winked at the man who spoke Russian. The man was smart enough to understand and immediately asked through the walkie-talkie. But no one answered. The man asked again, but there was still silence. Sharkanov felt that something was wrong. He immediately pointed at the door. The gunman immediately retreated a distance away. Sharkanov aimed at the door and pulled the trigger, firing a few shots. Dang dang dang. The door lock was broken, and Sharkanov kicked the door open. The moment the door was opened, it was as if a woman had opened her legs. Sharkanov had decided to raise this place to the ground and collect his employer's bounty, but the 6 gunmen seemed to have evaporated into thin air, disappearing without a trace. But there was a man standing there, holding 2 huge Gatling guns in his hands. What the hell? Sharkanov nearly peed his pants. Is this a fucking joke? The man in front of him was none other than the devil's incarnate. He smiled at Sharkanov. Sharkanov hurriedly shouted, "Don't worry. Run." Although it was Russian, the other gunmen understood what he was saying. The gunmen were so scared that they turned around and wanted to run. But suddenly, more than 10 men holding camouflage stun batons appeared behind them. They acted instantly and cleanly. The stun batons hit the gunmen. Everything had happened too quickly. The gunmen did not even have time to react. All of them were electrocuted and fell to the ground, twitching and foaming at the mouth. In an instant, they had lost the ability to fight. Only Sharkanov was still standing there. A security guard hit him with the stun baton. But with his strong body, he was able to stand there. Ah! He roared and kicked the security guard in front of him to the ground. His body was too strong. Sharkanov raised his gun and fired at the 3 security guard. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 security guards were immediately sent flying. Fortunately, the security guards were wearing bulletproof vests. Otherwise, they would have died there. Even so, the ribs of these 3 people were broken. They lay on the ground, unable to get up for a long time. But at this moment, a chain wrapped around Sharkanov's neck and dragged his burly body to the ground. Bang! Sharkanov's body smashed into the ground, creating a cloud of dust. The Devil's Incarnation's hands tightly gripped the chains, entangling Sharkanov so that he couldn't break free, but Sharkanov's body was too strong. He sat up from the ground bit by bit and was about to lift the Devil's Incarnation's body into the air. Liu Qiong and Liu Zhuang dashed over with military bayonets in their hands. They stabbed Sharkanov's shoulder several times in a row. Sharkanov roared again and again, but he did not fall. Damn you, you've become a little King Kong. The Devil's Incarnation was enraged. If not for Li Fan's order not to kill these people, but to knock them out and throw them at the entrance of the Yellow Uniform Regiment's base camp, he would have stabbed Sharkanov's heart long ago. Get out of here! Sharkanov roared in Russian. Then, he grabbed Liu Qiong and Liu Zhuang's bodies with both hands and threw them away as if they were little chicks. Bang, bang. Their bodies landed a distance away, and it was not a light fall. Sharkanov grabbed the Devil's Incarnation's shoulder and pulled him over. He threw him in front of him and stepped on his foot. At the same time, he pulled out his backup pistol and aimed it at the Devil's Incarnation's head. Liu Qiong and Liu Zhuang threw out the military bayonets in their hands. One of the bayonets knocked Sharkanov's pistol away, and the other stabbed into his hand. Ah! Sharkanov pulled out the stiletto by force and threw it backhanded. Liu Qiong instinctively raised his arm to block his face. The bayonet pierced through Liu Qiong's arm and forced him to take 2 steps back. This idiot is too stubborn. The Devil's Incarnation yelled, "This won't do. Let's go all out." Before he could finish his sentence, Sharkanov had already lifted him up, and his hands were on the Devil's Incarnation's neck. The Devil's Incarnation immediately felt suffocated, and his eyes rolled back. At this moment, Huang Lei appeared out of nowhere. He held the baseball bat in his hand and swung it at Sharkanov's head. The baseball bat was dented, and there was a wound on Sharkanov's head that was bleeding profusely. But he roared and kicked Huang Lei to the ground. The Devil's Incarnation was also thrown to the side, and he fell heavily. What the fuck? Is this guy cheating? Huang Lei spat out a mouthful of bile. It was painful. Fuck. This daddy is going to cheat too. The Devil's Incarnation took out a chainsaw out of nowhere, held it in his hand, and turned the motor. The chainsaw immediately started to operate, and the sawtooth quickly rotated, cutting everything in its path into pieces. No. Liu Qiong immediately said, "Boss ordered, don't kill him. Fuck his father, he's already in this state, and he still doesn't let me kill him." The Devil's Incarnation was about to go crazy, but Sharkanov picked up a stick and walked toward him. But at this moment, a beautiful figure suddenly fell into the courtyard. She jumped up, her body was almost suspended in the air, and then she kicked Sharkanov's head 3 times in a row. Bang, bang, bang. This Sharkanov directly fainted from the kick. His huge body fell to the ground, unable to stand up for a long time. Yin Xiaoru stepped on Sharkanov's head and looked at the 4 stunned men. "What are you guys doing?" Yin Xiaoru curiously looked at them, not knowing what they were doing. "Fuck me. Who is this girl?" The Devil's Incarnation had never seen Yin Xiaoru before, this was the first time. "Fuck, little ancestor, you're finally here." Huang Lei directly knelt down in front of Yin Xiaoru. "If you came a little later, we'd be dead for sure. Who is this blockhead?" Yin Xiaoru looked at the Russian mercenary under her feet, still somewhat puzzled. "I'll explain to you later." Ling Tian held his pistol and walked out, ordering everyone to clean up the battlefield. "It seems like we won this battle. Why did they start fighting?" "Where's Li Fan?" Yin Xiaoru asked. "The boss. He just left a message saying that he went to Wudong Mountain." Chapter 466. He went to Wudong Mountain? Yin Xiaoru rolled her eyes. "It's such a fun thing, yet he didn't call me along." Yin Xiaoru seemed rather displeased. "No, I have to chase after him." Yin Xiaoru said and used her qinggong to move around like the wind, instantly disappearing in front of the devil incarnate and the rest. This woman, Huang Lei, and the rest wiped their sweat and wondered if Big Brother would have a headache. At this moment, Li Fan had already flown to the foot of Wudong Mountain. Because the mountain was guarded by the disciples of the devil sect, he landed on the top of the mountain without being too conspicuous. It doesn't look any different. Li Fan looked at the towering Wudong Mountain and couldn't help but mutter. The 15th day of the first lunar month had already passed, and the sky was beginning to turn bright. The two of them did not sleep for almost the entire night, but because they were both martial artists, they were still very energetic. How could Li Fan fall asleep when his fiancée was locked up in such a place? The Wudong Hall is now like a prison. Yushi placed her hand on her black sword and stared at the halls on the mountain. Fortunately, Li Wei is not here. Li Wei? The leader of solipsism? Yes, he's a ruthless one. Yushi continued. Besides, according to our spies in Wudong Mountain, Song Fuya from the Medicine King Valley is here too. I know about the Medicine King Valley and I've dealt with an elder of the Yin clan before. However, who is Song Fuya? She's the former leader of the Yin clan. Yushi's grasp of the information of the martial artists was almost as good as a database. She used an invisible and colorless poison, which seems to be a modified cultivation dissipation powder. Li Fan had once been poisoned by the cultivation dissipation powder, and that thing was indeed terrible. It was no wonder that Murong Ying was locked up. After absorbing that thing, she couldn't even raise her skills. How could she play? This is for you. Yushi handed a black glass ball to Li Fan. What? Do you want to play marbles with me at such a serious time? Yushi rolled one of her eyes and said, this is a poison-repelling bead, extracted from a 10,000-year-old snow toad. She stuffed the poison-repellent bead into Li Fan's hand. Put it on your tongue. It will protect you from all poisons. What about you? Li Fan couldn't help worrying about Yushi. I have been trained since I was young. Poison has no effect on me. Yushi's words seemed calm, but Li Fan felt that there was endless bitterness in them. However, since Yushi didn't want to talk about it, it wasn't appropriate for him to ask. Okay, how do we go up the mountain? Li Fan stood at the foot of the mountain and looked at Wudong Mountain. There were already many disciples of the devil sect guarding it. Before he found his fiancée, everything was still unknown. There are two ways. One is to attack by force, and the other is to outsmart him. Yushi pointed at Mount Wudong and said, if we attack them head-on, we will have to face them head-on. To outsmart them is to sneak up the mountain. Sneak in? Well, we can pretend to be tourists to offer incense and enter Mount Wudong to investigate the whereabouts of Murong Ying and the others. Both of these methods are good. Li Fan nodded. Come on. All of them? Yushi was stunned. Why would all of them come? These two methods contradict each other. Well, I attack by force and you outsmart him. Li Fan stood at the foot of the mountain, facing Mount Wudong, and said with a smile, when I attack by force, help me investigate where my troublesome fiancé is locked up. Attacking by force is too dangerous. Not to mention you are alone. I am not alone. Li Fan took out the poison-repellent bead and said, aren't you always by my side? Then. Take care. Yushi did not hesitate. Since Li Fan had decided on a plan, she immediately turned and walked into the snow. The snow was very heavy and seemed to be getting heavier. Li Fan stretched and then slowly walked towards the entrance of Mount Wudong. After the 15th of the first month, because it was snowing, there were not many tourists. Mount Wudong was also very quiet. At the foot of the mountain stood two men who were obviously not Wudong disciples. Wudong disciples were all wearing dark blue daoist robes, but these two disciples were wearing black and red robes with a black sun imprinted on their chest. Solipsism. Solipsism. When Li Fan walked up, the two disciples thought that he was a tourist and did not pay too much attention to him. However, Li Fan stood in front of the mountain gate, summoned his true energy, and roared. Solipsism. Young Master Li Fan, release the young master's woman, otherwise, I will wash Mount Wudong with blood. The roar was like thunder, shaking the Wudang mountain. The two devil cult disciples were startled. Their eyes fell on Li Fan at the same time. You are Li Fan? Yes, I am your young master. Li Fan laughed. If you know what's good for you, scram to the side. Otherwise, I will not be polite. With just you. You want to challenge my devil sect? Idiot. The two devil disciples immediately rushed over. They were holding two long sabers as if they wanted to chop Li Fan into pieces. Although they were only guarding disciples, their martial arts were indeed good and their saber techniques were also very sharp. As the saying goes, a quick saber cuts a tangled hemp. But Li Fan just smiled. He stretched out his hands and flicked the sabers away. At the same time, his right leg kicked out twice, hitting the acupoints of the two people and knocking them unconscious. Solipsism is only SOSO. Li Fan passed through the entrance and continued up the mountain. The mountain road was rugged. As the road to the sect, there was only a small path that led to the top of the mountain. The other side was a wide road, but it led to the Wudang sect's tourist area. That was the route that belonged to Yu Shi. He did not go there. From the mountain, a lot of solipsism disciples came down. Each of them had an overbearing aura as they intercepted Li Fan on the rugged mountain road. A few devil disciples roared and pounced towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not show any mercy. With a few punches and kicks, he knocked 4 devil disciples to the ground. The last Bear King seal landed on the chest of the last evil sect disciple who was charging over. Boom! That devil disciple was immediately sent flying and smashed a few pine trees on the side of the road before fainting there. As for those devil disciples on the ground, Li Fan stomped on their hands and feet, crippling their martial arts. Li Fan's methods caused the remaining devil disciples to be afraid. They stood there, no one dared to take a step forward. As Li Fan walked forward, they watched as Li Fan continuously retreated. Not long later, Li Fan arrived in front of the Wudang main hall. Many devil disciples rushed out, a total of 40 to 50 people blocked in front of Li Fan. Everyone looked at Li Fan vigilantly as if they were facing a great enemy. But no one dared to step forward. They could only maintain a certain distance from Li Fan. A bunch of trash. At this time, 3 people walked out. The one who spoke was a woman in a cloak. Chapter 467. What a bunch of trash. Song Fuya crossed her arms and sneered coldly. What's the use of the leader keeping you? After all, she was elders were. With her ridicule, those devil cult disciples didn't dare to hesitate anymore. They mustered up their courage and rushed toward Li Fan. Some appetizers. Li Fan didn't care. His moves were very clean and neat, constantly defeating the enemies in front of him. More than 40 devil cult disciples launched an attack, but Li Fan only used his 7-hero fist. 1 move for each of them. In less than 5 minutes, they were all down. Indeed, a bunch of trash. Li Fan laughed. They didn't even warm up. Little Overlord Li Fan, do you really think you can win? Song Fuya crossed her arms and stood in front of Li Fan. In the count of 10, you won't be able to use internal force anymore. That sounds really scary. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders. Leave it to me. White Impermanence licked his fingers. Let me tear this person's neck. I want to taste his blood. You devil cult really have a heavy taste. Li Fan couldn't help but ridicule. The heavier taste is yet to come. White Impermanence stretched out his hands. Wait for me to pull out your intestines and let you have a good look. With that, White Impermanence jumped and easily crossed the distance of more than 10 meters. He appeared on top of Li Fan's head and grabbed toward Li Fan's throat with his soul-snatching claw. Li Fan stretched out his hands and directly grabbed White Impermanence's wrist. At the same time, his knee heavily hit White Impermanence's lower abdomen. White Impermanence spat out a mouthful of blood. But he was a qualified martial artist and the devil cult's right protector, so he endured it. But Li Fan twisted his waist and swung his hands, directly throwing White Impermanence away. White Impermanence's body flipped in the air and landed firmly on the ground. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Li Fan in surprise. What a waste. Song Fuya and the protectors wanted to ridicule together. White Impermanence immediately cried out, "Fuck, This kid is a little weird. 10 seconds have passed. He's at your mercy now. Song Fuya calculated the time. I rather enjoy the feeling of being slaughtered. White Impermanence looked at Li Fan as if she was looking at a dead man. Bring it on. Li Fan hooked his finger at White Impermanence. Die. Bai Wuchang rushed forward again. This time, his technique was even more incisive. The soul-seizing claw drew an afterimage in the air. But Li Fan just stretched out his crane hand, and immediately bounced off White Impermanence's claw. At the same time, Li Fan directly kicked high, bringing out a bolt of lightning, right at White Impermanence's face. Rushing thunder feet. Li Fan's kick directly knocked out one of Bai Wuchang's front teeth. Bai Wuchang's body flipped in the air and finally fell heavily to the ground. The Black Impermanence stepped forward and pulled his comrade up. Damn it, where's the promised 10 seconds? He should have prepared some poison-repellent medicine, Song Fuya ridiculed. Trash. With your skills, you still have the face to call yourself the right protector of solipsism? She was very dissatisfied, but the left protector's authority was indeed higher than the right protector. White Impermanence could only clench her teeth and endure. Indeed, it's time for your right protector to be replaced. Li Fan nodded his head, admitting that Song Fuya's words were somewhat reasonable. Black and White Impermanence have always acted together. Song Fuya told Li Fan, when the two of them are together, they are no longer trash. While speaking, White Impermanence had already stood up. The two of them looked at each other before pulling out a ghost-beating stick from their back at the same time and held it in their hands. The two of them jumped on the spot. Like zombies, they instantly jumped in front of Li Fan and waved their ghost-beating sticks at Li Fan. Li Fan extended his hand to block their ghost-beating sticks, but in an instant, the two of them suddenly disappeared. Li Fan's back and waist suffered a blow at the same time, causing his internal organs to tremble. However, Li Fan's internal energy was powerful and was able to stabilize his dantian very quickly. The two of them once again disappeared from Li Fan's line of sight, as if they really were ghost. Solipsism's right protector, Black and White Impermanence. When the two of them combine their strength, the Impermanence soul-locking formation is unparalleled in the world. Song Fuya still had her arms crossed as she looked at Li Fan. Her gaze carried a cold smile. Coming here without any preparations is truly foolish. The soul-locking formation of the Black and White Impermanence was indeed powerful. It came and went without a trace, causing Li Fan to have a headache. Unknowingly, Li Fan had already been hit tens of times. If not for his chi protecting his body, who knows how many bones in his body would have been broken. Stop playing around. Quickly kill him, Song Fuya urged. As for the Black and White Impermanence, they kept leaving afterimages as they started to hit Li Fan's vitals with their ghost-beating sticks. But at this moment, Li Fan extended his hands and released Dragon Toad's absorption of water. The Black and White Impermanence did not even have the chance to react. Their bodies were grabbed by Li Fan and they staggered forward. Li Fan's hands were already on top of their heads. Are you tired of playing? Li Fan's cold voice caused the Black and White Impermanence to be deeply shocked. Bang! Bang! The two of them burst out with chi at the same time and shook off Li Fan's hands before returning to Song Fuya's side. This person's strength is unfathomable. The White Impermanence let out a strange voice, causing people to tremble in fear. Looks like the two of us have to show some of our true abilities. With that, the Black Impermanence suddenly jumped onto the White Impermanence's back. His entire body was very strange, as if a piece of paper was stuck to the White Impermanence's back. This White Impermanence rose and fell and quickly floated towards Li Fan. Li Fan did not know what kind of martial arts this fellow was using. He only felt that it was very strange. After all, they were the Black and White Impermanence. Could it be that they were still wandering in the netherworld? The Black and White Impermanence had already arrived in front of Li Fan in a few leaps. The White Impermanence immediately used soul-snatching claw and grabbed towards Li Fan's neck. And just as Li Fan used crane hand to block it, the Black Impermanence's ghost-beating stick in both hands smashed towards Li Fan's head. Different bodies with one heart? Li Fan understood that the most powerful state of these two people was the combination of the two. A person with 2 hands would definitely be more powerful than a person with 1 hand. And a person with 4 hands would definitely be more powerful. The 2 ghost beating sticks went straight for the top of Li Fan's head. If it was a solid hit, even if Li Fan had divine body protection, his head would probably be smashed like a watermelon. But Li Fan was also not a good person. He suddenly shouted, "Ha!" Fierce tiger roar. The sound formed an impact and instantly hit the black and white impermanents, causing the 2 of them to slide back a meter. And Li Fan suddenly took a step forward and directly stabbed into the white impermanence's shoulder. Dragon shattering hand. Li Fan's hand instantly pierced through the white impermanence's shoulder and even stabbed into the black impermanence's shoulder. Chapter 468. Li Fan's hand grabbed onto black impermanence's shoulder blade and pulled back. Catcher. The black impermanence's shoulder blade pierced through his brother's shoulder and was pulled out by Li Fan. With fresh blood, he was casually thrown to the ground by Li Fan. With just one move, Li Fan had almost destroyed the martial arts of 2 impermanences. This was the 7 Heroes' Fist. Li Fan always strived to defeat his enemy in one move in the shortest amount of time. When Song Fuya saw this scene, she could not help but be shocked. "This is the 7 Heroes' Fist." Song Fuya frowned and asked. "That's right." Li Fan nodded. "Miss, are you not going to personally exchange a few moves with me?" Li Fan beckoned to Song Fuya with his finger. "I am the left protector of solipsism, Song Fuya." Song Fuya told him her name. "I'm not good at martial arts. Since the right protector has been defeated, there is probably no one on Wudong Mountain who can stop you," she said confidently. "But if you were to save Murong Ying and leave today, I am afraid the sect leader of solipsism will not let you off." "Little Overlord Li Fan, do you have the guts to become enemies with the sect leader?" "What you said is quite funny." Li Fan was amused. "Young master even dares to marry the Martial Alliance master. Are you afraid of offending the sect leader of an evil cult?" "The grudge between me and your evil cult is not just this little," Li Fan said. "I will definitely take revenge for stealing my 9 Buddha Sutra and the Sword of 4 Beast. Since I lost face, I will naturally take it back myself. Just a mere Martial Alliance master. Solipsism does not place him in my eyes." Song Fuya said loudly, "In the world of pugilistic world, only I am supreme. In the world of pugilistic world, only I am supreme." Countless voices reverberated around. Li Fan looked up and saw that on the surrounding main halls, there were suddenly densely packed evil faction disciples. There were at least 200 to 300 of them. Moreover, these devil cult disciples emitted an unusual feeling, giving Li Fan a sense of threat. He was also surprised that the devil cult had hidden so many disciples in this place. "They think too highly of Wudong. This is the true power of solipsism," Song Fuya said proudly. "How can you fight against hundreds of my disciples alone? What if I'm included?" At this moment, a familiar man walked over with a black box on his back. He was dressed in ordinary casual clothes, but he had a temperament that no one dared to underestimate. Behind him were more than 200 experts dressed in blue robes. Each of them had a sword imprinted on their back. Li Fan was familiar with the man leading the group. He had fought with him not long ago. There were 4 major alliances in the pugilistic world, and this man was a cadre of Whistling West Wind who was also the eldest disciple of Yin Wuchao, Shu Zhenrong. "Brother Li, I'm late." Shu Zhenrong cupped his hands at Li Fan and then looked up at Song Fuya. "Left protector, since everyone has brought their men here, why don't we have a fight and have some fun? Whistling West Wind, how dare you ruin solipsism?" Song Fuya's voice sounded a little angry. "The 4 major alliances have always been enemies with the devil cult." Shu Zhenrong smiled. "Could it be that we have become good friends without me knowing?" "You foolish people." Song Fuya cursed. "How dare you stop the sect master? You will all be destroyed. It's definitely a cult deja vu." Li Fan couldn't help but want to complain. Song Fuya seems to have been brainwashed. How powerful is Li Wei to make Song Fuya so loyal to him? Li Fan couldn't help but imagine what Li Wei looked like. "Left protector, you're a smart person. Do you still want to be enemies with us in this situation?" Xu Zhenrong continued to ask. Whistling West Wind is really generous. You must have sent all the experts. Not at all, the devil cult is an honorable guest, we should entertain them well. In front of me, these 200 men of yours are nothing more than trash. Since I know that you're here, wouldn't I be prepared? Xu Zhenrong said with a smile, before going up the mountain, I've already made everyone take the heart-cleansing pill. Within 4 hours, they will be immune to all poisons. If you don't believe me, feel free to try it. The two of them spoke one after another, and Song Fuya finally humphed. Little Overlord Li Fan, riding your horse and whistling in the west wind, we, the devil cult, will remember this. Retreat. Yes. All the disciples of the devil cult immediately evacuated from the Wudong mountain. 2 disciples of the devil cult also came over and carried their right protector away. But of these 2 black and white impermanents, at least the black impermanence has already lost an arm. Looking at these devil cult disciples leaving like the tide, Xu Zhenrong also let out a sigh of relief. She's finally gone. Scared her away. Li Fan raised his eyebrows and roughly understood what Xu Zhenrong meant. It seems that Big Brother Xu doesn't have the so-called heart-cleansing pill, right? Xu Zhenrong smiled, not only do I not have the heart-cleansing pill, but more than half of these 200 people are extras I hired from the town. I left in a hurry, how could I bring so many people? Li Fan suddenly felt that this Xu Zhenrong was not easy to deal with. If he became enemies with this guy, he didn't know when he would be schemed against. Since the people of the devil cult have retreated, Brother Li, quickly go and pick up your fiancé. Xu Zhenrong reminded Li Fan, I also want to pay a visit to the Alliance Master. Okay. No matter what, Xu Zhenrong helped him this time. Besides, Xu Zhenrong had helped him a little. Brother Li, you may not know, but the people on the roof just now are the corpse disciples of the devil cult. Corpse disciples? What the hell is that? Li Fan felt like he was illiterate. That's a special weapon of the devil cult. Xu Zhenrong got goosebumps at the mention of it. They let some fanatical believers in the cult smear corpse oil on their bodies and use some kind of demonic attack to train their bodies to have bronze skin and iron bones. Xu Zhenrong continued, with these bronze skin and iron bones, they can be invulnerable and impervious to fire and water. Li Wei likes to call his terrifying corpse disciples the undead army that fights for him in the Holy War. Li Wei is really ruthless. Li Fan was a little fearful. The leader of the devil cult was using advanced technology. If he had really fought with 200 of them just now, it might have been difficult to determine the winner. After all, they were a group of people with bronze skin and iron bones. His hands would hurt if he fought with them. Li Fan was walking inside when he suddenly saw a figure floating past. He subconsciously turned around. Beside him were the extras hired by Xu Zhenrong, as well as some real disciples of Whistling West Wind who were rescuing the disciples of the Wudong sect. Did I see wrongly? Chapter 469. Li Fan felt that he seemed to have seen Yin Shiru just now. However, this flying cat should not be in Wudong at this time. It was probably having fun somewhere else. Li Fan followed Xu Zhenrong. The two of them circled around the Wudong sect. They were a little confused. No one could find Murong Ying and Master Yu Shu of Shaolin Temple. It seems that the two of them are locked in a secret room, Xu Zhenrong muttered. Xu Zhenrong muttered, this is not good. The other Wudong disciples don't know where the two of them are. Leave it to me. As Li Fan spoke, he turned his head and saw that Yu Shi was standing behind him without him noticing. Seeing him, Xu Zhenrong gasped. Oh my god, isn't this the blackguard Heartless Saber of the Genie Guard? Why is she here, and she seems to know Li Fan? Have you found it? Li Fan asked. Found it. Yu Shi gave Li Fan a satisfactory answer. In a secret room in the True Martial Hall. Yes, I'll have to trouble Heartless Saber to bring us there. Li Fan was very polite in front of outsiders. He did not want others to know about his relationship with Yu Shi, so as not to bring unnecessary trouble to Yu Shi. Not at all. Please. Yu Shi also showed a very polite look. She pointed in the direction of the True Martial Hall. Xu Zhenrong also greeted Yu Shi politely. After all, The genie guard was the officials' family. Except for the weirdos like Li Fan and Murong Ying, who were not very respectful, the rest of the sects and organizations had to be respectful to the genie guard. Especially the black guard of the genie guard. This was the absolute authority. It was said that they had the power to kill the martial artists, and they could kill first and report later. If they could get the support of the genie guard, then Whistling West Wind was likely to become the most powerful of the four alliances. This was what Whistling West Wind had always wanted to do, to become the real number one alliance. There were actually 4 alliances in the pugilistic world. That was simply too many. Xu Zhenrong tried his best to please Yu Shi, but Yu Shi basically ignored him and only talked to Li Fan. However, Xu Zhenrong wasn't angry. After all, he felt that a person as high and mighty as Yu Shi should act like this. Right here, there's a secret passage. Yu Shi led Li Fan and Xu Zhenrong into a secret passage behind the true martial palace. Li Fan was curious. How did you find this secret passage? There's a strange wind. Yu Shi gave a very simple explanation. Li Fan said, "Is this woman a hunting dog?" Fortunately, she wasn't his enemy. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. This woman did have some skills in tracking. Otherwise, how could she have snuck into a service center to find him? It's so deep here. Xu Zhenrong walked down the long corridor and looked at the surroundings. He felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't expect that there would be such a place in a righteous sect like Wudong. Every sect has some secrets. There's nothing to be surprised about. Li Fan said that when he was on Mount Hua, the secret passage was still hidden in the well. That sour feeling at the bottom of the well. Needless to say, it was unforgettable. The 3 of them went all the way to the depths. There was a dungeon set up here that wasn't very big, but there was a very narrow passage in front of the dungeon. There was only a tall figure standing in front of it, motionless like a stone statue. What is this? A statue of Wudong? Li Fan looked at the almost 2-meter tall statue in front of him and couldn't help but ask. Don't touch it. Yu Shi grabbed the curious Li Fan. Xu Zhenrong also subconsciously pulled out his golden sabers and looked at the stone statue in front of him nervously. What's wrong? Li Fan was a little surprised. Why did Yu Shi and Xu Zhenrong have such big reactions? Young hero Li, this is not a statue. This is a gray man. Xu Zhenrong reminded Li Fan, they are monsters in human skin specially created by the devil cult. These people have a virus on them. If you touch them, you will be infected. Li Fan was stunned for a moment. This devil cult is too much. They actually made this kind of biological weapon. These people no longer have any rationality. They are acting based on instinct. Xu Zhenrong was very nervous. It should be said that he was extremely nervous. This thing is not a kind person. I don't want to be infected by this damn virus. What effect does this virus have? Li Fan asked while retreating. It can destroy people's skin, leaving only muscles on the body. Xu Zhenrong pointed at the man in front of him who looked like a stone. They are like this. They don't have skin. The stone is branded on their muscles. Becoming like this. The devil cult is really scary. Li Fan couldn't help but shudder. This is not a joke. If a person lived like this, how much pain would it be? This grey man seemed to prove Li Fan's thoughts. He suddenly moved slowly and let out an extremely painful roar. Then, he pulled up an iron chain from the ground. With a clattering sound, the man in grey dragged out a rusty iron anchor from the ground beside him. The huge iron anchor in his hand is like a toy. He casually swung it a few times and then threw it towards Li Fan and the rest. The iron anchor cut through the air and made a swishing sound. In a blink of an eye, it is in front of Li Fan and the rest. I will protect you, Xu Zhenrong said as he raised his golden blades and placed it on the huge iron anchor. Clang! His arms sank and his knees kneeled on the ground, creating a pit on the ground. That grey man, his strength was a bit too strong. Step back. Yu Shi stepped forward and pulled out the black blade in her hand. A black crescent-shaped blade flew out and instantly cut the iron chain in half. Following that, Yu Shi threw out 2 more blades. 2 crescent moons cut the grey man's body into 4 pieces. Yu Shi's heartless blade is unstoppable. At this moment, she finally displayed her strength. Behind the grey man is a stone door. She once again cut it into 4 pieces with the black blade and it fell to the other side of the door. On the other side of the door is a metal cage. Inside is a beautiful woman and an old monk. You came too late. Murong Ying crossed her arms and leaned against the wall. She stood there and looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. I haven't bathed for a few days. It's so uncomfortable. If I force you, I will throw you in there for a few more days. Li Fan rolled his eyes. I am your benefactor now. Can't you be more polite? You are my husband. You should have saved me. Murong Ying's tone is still domineering. Quickly help me open the cage. Chapter 470. Li Fan walks to the front of the cage and looks at Murong Ying, who is sitting in the cage. He squats down with a smile and says to her, Quick, call me hubby. You, say hubby, I beg you. Quickly open the door for me. Dream on. With Murong Ying's temper, how can she allow Li Fan to tease her like this? At that moment, she is unbearably angry. If not for the fact that I can't circulate my qi, I will definitely tear your stinky mouth apart. Ayaya, if you can circulate your qi, do you still need me to save you? Li Fan resumes his old job and starts to tease his alliance leader's fiancée. My alliance leader's wife, why has your logical thinking ability become bad after being locked up for a few days? You are courting death. Murong Ying is unbearably angry, but she can't do anything to Li Fan. Look, you are angry again. Li Fan squats there and says with a smile, Fortunately, we are husband and wife. If we fight at the head of the bed, we will reconcile at the end. Who wants to reconcile with you? Murong Ying glares at Li Fan fiercely, but looking at Li Fan's appearance, he doesn't seem to mind. Instead, he is still smiling, making Murong Ying want to grind her teeth. Are you letting me out or not? Call me hubby. Li Fan stands up, crosses his arms, and looks at Murong Ying. You too, let this alliance leader out. Murong Ying has no choice but to surrender her gaze to the 2 people at the side. But if Li Fan doesn't say anything, she will not move. Xu Zhenrong was very embarrassed. He felt that he was unnecessary at this moment. To save or not to save, this is the problem. If he saves, he will offend Li Fan. If he doesn't save, he will offend alliance leader Murong. Damn it, I shouldn't have rushed over at that time. Not only would he fail to claim credit, he would also die. No matter who he offended, the 2 of them were a couple. In the end, it was just like what Li Fan had said, they would fight at the head of the bed and make up at the end. In the end, he was in a terrible situation. Wife, why do you have to make things difficult for them? Li Fan laughed and said, Why do we have to involve others in our matters? Look, you're making things so difficult for them. Murong Ying wanted to kill someone, but the one who made things difficult for them was you, bastard. But looking at Li Fan's innocent look, he would never admit it. When this guy was thick-skinned, even a cannonball couldn't penetrate his skin. If you don't call me husband, I won't let you out. Li Fan said again, but Murong Ying ignored him. It seems our alliance master likes this place very much. Let's head back, then. Li Fan waved his hand and prepared to leave with his men. Murong Ying was anxious. She hurriedly took a step forward and subconsciously shouted, Don't go, who said don't go? Li Fan looked back at him. Husband, don't go. Murong Ying's voice was like a mosquito buzzing. Li Fan immediately turned around and asked, What did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. Don't push your luck. Murong Ying glared at him with her almond-shaped eyes. Only then did Li Fan put away his mischievous smile. Good, good, good. Our alliance master has been trapped for so long. This is outrageous. With that, Li Fan walked to the front of the iron cage and stretched out his hands to grab the 2 bars. He exerted force and forcibly bent the 2 railings. Amitabha! I finally see the light of day again. Master Yu Shu was also released. This old monk was quite emotional. This dungeon is really quiet. However, it's inconvenient for men and women to cultivate. Thank you for your hard work, Master Yu Shu. Xu Zhenrong hurriedly put his palms together and bowed to this Shaolin abbot. Since you've taken advantage of me, now it's time to do me a favor. Murong Ying pulled Li Fan's collar, otherwise, I won't forgive you. We're already an old married couple. Why are you still so shy? Li Fan pulled away Murong Ying's hand and helped her pat off the dust on her clothes. Look at you. You've been locked up for a few days and you're already haggard. Looking at the deep concern in Li Fan's eyes, Murong Ying actually couldn't get angry. This guy is quite concerned about me. Those damn devil cult, they've really gone too far this time. Xu Zhenrong said angrily, this time they're actually so bold. Not only did they forcibly occupy Wudong Mountain, they even locked up Alliance Master Murong and Master Yu Shu. He cupped his hands toward Murong Ying. Alliance Master Murong, this time we can't indulge them anymore. We must launch an all-out attack on the devil cult. We will ride our horses to the west wind and follow Alliance Master's lead. Xu Zhenrong hurriedly expressed his loyalty. Behind all of this should be their Alliance Master's authorization. I will arrange this matter. You don't need to remind me. Murong Ying didn't care about Xu Zhenrong. She took a deep breath and then instructed Li Fan, I've been poisoned by a very special cultivation dissipating powder. Only Song Fuya has the antidote. Li Fan, are you willing to make a trip for me? Song Fuya's character is strange. If I want to directly snatch it from her, even if she dies, she won't hand it over. When Li Fan thought of that woman, he felt a little panicky. If she dies in exchange for a martial arts alliance master with crippled martial arts, she will definitely feel that it's worth it. You've got a plan? After living under the same roof for so long, Murong Ying already understood Li Fan very well. When she heard Li Fan say this, she knew that he already had his own idea. Well, we can't snatch it, but we can steal it. As Li Fan spoke, he turned his head and glanced at her. It's time for you to come down. Everyone was a little surprised. Who was Li Fan talking about? As soon as his voice fell, a figure landed from behind the stone statue. She was wearing convenient night clothes and had a slim figure. When she landed, she let out a string of silver bell-like laughter. Little junior sister? When Xu Zhenrong saw Flying Cat, a smile appeared on his face. You're here. Are you here to look for me? TSK, I'm not looking for you. Yin Xiaoru rolled her eyes at Xu Zhenrong, as if she didn't care about this eldest senior brother at all. Little junior sister, long time no see. Don't you miss senior brother? Xu Zhenrong hurriedly asked. Why would I miss you? You're not my biological brother, Yin Xiaoru said as she walked to Li Fan's side and enthusiastically held his arm. Sticking to his side, she said, little sweetheart, how did you find me? Li Fan's forehead was covered in cold sweat. This girl was teasing him again. Sure enough, Murong Ying frowned and snorted. Li Fan, I'm suffering here, but you're enjoying yourself. You're fooling around outside, aren't you? What are you talking about? The two of us are purely colleagues. Li Fan hurriedly pushed Yin Xiaoru away and then glared at her. You're causing trouble for me the moment you come. With your movement technique, you're still a few years away from being able to hide from me. TMPH, I didn't hide it carefully. Otherwise, none of you would be able to find me. Yin Xiaoru was very unwilling. Xu Zhenrong wiped his cold sweat at the side, thinking in his heart, what the hell is going on? Chapter 471. Are you Yin Xiaoru? Murong Ying pulled Li Fan to the side. She was more than 1.7 meters tall, a head taller than Yin Xiaoru, so she looked down at Yin Xiaoru. You're the daughter of Golden Eagle Castle. Why are you dressed like a thief? Hey, although you're the chief of Wulin, it's not up to you to tell me what to wear, right? Yin Xiaoru rolled her eyes. I can wear whatever I want. What a willful girl. Didn't Yin Wuchao discipline you? You're so annoying. Yin Xiaoru pouted and rolled her eyes at Murong Ying. You're just the chief of Wulin. Why do you like to meddle in other people's business? I don't care. I just think you're annoying. The two women began to bicker. Li Fan hurriedly advised, you two, stop arguing. My wife, we still have to ask her for help with this matter. Ha! How can a willful girl be of any help? Murong Ying crossed her arms and said arrogantly. Li Fan was very helpless. Damn it, you're willful enough. Her lightness skill is good. I need her to help you steal the antidote. Li Fan said, Song Fuya is a very special woman. She has poison to protect her body. Ordinary people can't get close to her. Besides me and Yu Shi, only the person with the poison prevention bead can get close to her. As he spoke, he took out a small black bead, which surprised Xu Zhenrong. Poison prevention bead? Young hero Li, why do you have this? Amid her, Master Yu Shu also put his hands together and sighed. The last time I saw it, I was still a child. You don't need to care about its origin. It's borrowed anyway. Li Fan said and handed the bead to Yin Xiaoru. Take it. You'll need it later. Yin Xiaoru's eyes lit up. She dodged the bead and asked, how do I use it? Just put it under your tongue. Li Fan reminded Yin Xiaoru, I borrowed this thing, you must return it to me. I know, you are really stingy. Yin Xiaoru angrily rolled her eyes at Li Fan and unwillingly stuffed the bead into her pocket. What are you going to do if you give her the poison prevention pearl? Yu Shi, who had been silent all this time, finally couldn't help but speak up. She was worried about Li Fan's safety. It's fine. Actually, I don't care about this bit of poisonous gas. Li Fan's control of true qi was unique, so he did not care about Song Fuya's poisonous fog. Even if she knows how to steal, how can she steal, and where can she steal? Murong Ying asked. Leave it to me. Li Fan already had an idea. I want Song Fuya to take out the antidote herself. How is that possible? Don't tell me you know hypnosis. Of course not, but I have my own brilliant plan. Li Fan said, straightening his clothes. Heartless Saber, please help me find the whereabouts of Song Fuya and the others. Yu Shi nodded. They should not have gone far. The black and white impermanents are seriously injured. I think they should stay in a nearby town for a night. Wait for me on the mountain, I will be back soon. Yu Shi said, her feet bounced, her whole body stepped on the mountain wind, like a black shadow, disappeared in front of everyone in the blink of an eye. I didn't expect this Heartless Saber's Qinggong to be so beautiful. After saying that, Murong Ying glanced at Li Fan. I remember that she was still chasing you before. How come it seems that after I was locked up for a few days, your relationship with many women inexplicably improved a lot? What are you talking about? Li Fan patted his chest. This can only mean that my charm is great. Charming your sister. I hope it can be solved smoothly. In any case, not having martial arts was a bit uncomfortable for Murong Ying. All she could do now was to wait. And just as Yu Shi expected, at this moment, Song Fuya was staying in a 4-star hotel in the town at the foot of Mount Wudong. In this place, a 4-star hotel was already the most high-end hotel. Song Fuya took a shower, dried her hair, and then looked at the old sofa in the bedroom with some dissatisfaction. I really don't want to come to this kind of place a second time. Song Fuya sighed. This time's mission was really, very not smooth. Not only did she fail to defend Mount Wudong, even the black and white impermanents were killed. If the sect leader knew about this, how could she have the face to be the left protector? Song Fuya sat there, thinking about how she should apologize. At this moment, a breeze blew through the window. Song Fuya immediately frowned and looked at the window vigilantly. It was winter now, she did not have the habit of opening the window in cold weather. Before Song Fuya could check, the door was knocked. Who is it? Song Fuya questioned. It's your room service, miss. A familiar voice sounded outside the door, and Song Fuya immediately reached out and grabbed a bathrobe from the bathroom. She then wrapped it around her body. Honorable Miss, may I come in? Song Fuya opened the door, and indeed, Li Fan was standing outside, looking at her with a smile. What a surprise. Song Fuya said sarcastically, I didn't expect the little tyrant to think so highly of me that he chased me all the way here from Mount Wudong. Because I like beautiful women, I naturally have to chase after beautiful women. Looking at Song Fuya, who had revealed her true appearance, Li Wei felt that she was rather good-looking. Li Wei had chosen a beautiful woman to be his left protector. Chasing after me won't do you any good. Song Fuya looked at Li Fan arrogantly. You're much more articulate this time. Did you spit out the poison prevention pearl? You know about the poison prevention pearl? Li Fan pretended to be surprised, but Song Fuya couldn't help but mock him. Do you think I don't know? The poison prevention pearl is the only thing that can perfectly avoid my poison. Song Fuya's face was full of confidence. I've studied poison all my life, and you can't imagine how amazing it is. Do you think you can come in unscathed and take the antidote from me? Song Fuya mocked Li Fan. Arrogant kid, you've already been poisoned by my technique dissipation powder the moment you entered this room. Soon, you'll become my trophy. She seemed to be a little worried. I wonder if the sect master will be satisfied with you. He originally wanted Alliance Master Murong. However, you can't stop the Emperor of Pugilistic World. He's going to rise. I think you're crazy. Li Fan rolled his eyes. You've been brainwashed too much. You're too stupid to understand true holiness and greatness. Song Fuya mocked Li Fan. You don't have an ideal man. Now, you can only kneel before me powerlessly. Chapter 472. Li Fan's face turned pale. He took 2 steps back and fearfully looked at Song Fuya. I'm still young. I don't want to die. Li Fan looked at Song Fuya, who picked up a fruit knife and hurriedly said, I'm willing to join solipsism. You? Where's your loyalty? Song Fuya looked at Li Fan with ridicule. What a joke. You'd better go seek refuge with King Yang Luo. How boring. I can't fool you. Li Fan sat down on the short counter and then looked at Song Fuya with a smile. Do you think I'm an idiot? Why would I throw away the poison prevention pearl before seeing you? You probably don't believe me, but I have a godly thief by my side. Her name is Flying Cat. Song Fuya was shocked. She hurriedly turned her head and looked at the row of bottles hanging on the wall. But she immediately frowned. She knew something was wrong. Even if you know the antidote, you won't be able to get it, Song Fuya said as she turned around and threw the fruit knife at Li Fan, but Li Fan only stretched out his hand and grabbed the fruit knife. Do you need me to peel the fruit for you, miss? Impossible. How can you still use your internal force? Song Fuya looked at Li Fan in shock. He had obviously inhaled her poisonous fog, but he was still fine. He obviously didn't use the poison prevention pearl. Song Fuya couldn't figure it out, and only Li Fan himself knew about his ability. He used his true qi to cover his entire body, even his nostrils. If he didn't have a strong internal force, he would have suffocated to death. Song Fuya rubbed her eyes in disbelief. But she quickly reacted. Now was not the time to make a move. She was a strategic weapon. If she met someone who wasn't afraid of her poisonous fog, then her fighting strength would be too low. Song Fuya only had one thought in her mind, and that was to escape. She didn't even have time to wear her clothes. She wanted to take back her antidote and jump out with a towel wrapped around her. However, Li Fan suddenly used the white crane nod and instantly hit Song Fuya's acupuncture point. Song Fuya's body stiffened, and a woman dressed in black appeared out of nowhere. She dodged the bag of elixirs and jumped out of the window. Where do you think you're going? Song Fuya was shocked. She wanted to chase after him, but her blood was still sealed, so she couldn't move. Sorry, I don't want you to leave. Li Fan's voice came from behind Song Fuya. Song Fuya suddenly bit the tip of her tongue, turned her head with difficulty, and spat out a mouthful of blood at Li Fan. Li Fan instinctively felt that something was wrong. He immediately shifted his feet and dodged to the side. With a puff, the blood arrow hit the wall behind him. A corroded black hole was left on the wall. It was a ghastly sight. Li Fan swallowed his saliva and thought to himself, what the fuck is going on? It seemed that this woman not only knew how to play with poison, even the blood in her body was poisonous. This was really fucked up. His vital energy couldn't completely resist this kind of liquid poison. Are you afraid? Song Fuya licked her blood-red lips and looked at Li Fan. She smiled sweetly. Don't worry, my poison comes quickly. I guarantee you won't feel any pain and you'll die peacefully. Then I really have to thank you. Li Fan activated the vital energy in his body. Li Fan, even if I have to use up all my blood, I will take your life. After being deceived by Li Fan, Song Fuya flew into a rage out of humiliation. She relied on the power of her blood to forcefully break through the seal of her blood. She turned around and spat out mouthfuls of blood arrows at Li Fan. Li Fan's feet kept shifting, and his body left a black afterimage. It was as if he was leaving some kind of black particles in the air. Li Fan's movements became lighter and lighter. The movements of the spirit monkey and immortal deer were firmly engraved in his bones and became a physical memory. Although Song Fuya's blood arrows were fast and vicious, it was not difficult for Li Fan to deal with. Song Fuya was getting more and more anxious. Her blood was not unlimited, but her poison had no effect on Li Fan. Damn it, this man, is he really immune to all poisons? In this world, other than the 4 black guards of the embroidered uniform guards, how could there be someone else with such an ability? Or did he also eat the clear heart pill? Impossible. Song Fuya was not stupid. The clear heart pill definitely did not exist. The reason why she left Mount Wudang was because Li Fan defeated the black and white impermanence in a second and shocked her. A man who had the poison prevention pearl and could defeat the black and white impermanence in a second was definitely not weak. Although she had brought 200 undead soldiers, they were the sect leader's most precious asset. They should be used in better places, such as the Holy War. Song Fuya was very smart and also very cautious. She chose to retreat, not because she was scared away by the sword-leaning smile, but because she was scared away by Li Fan alone. This man was getting more and more out of her expectations. Enough! Li Fan suddenly roared. He took a step forward and slapped himself in the air. Bear King Seal. Song Fuya felt as if her abdomen was hit by a car. She flew out and hit the window behind her, shattering the glass. Her body jumped down from the building. Song Fuya covered her lower abdomen with one hand and grabbed a towel with the other. Her body somersaulted in the air, and then she stepped on the building wall with both legs. Her whole body flew out and landed on a car below. Bang! The roof of the car was dented, but Song Fuya's feet were unharmed. She jumped and landed on a few cars and disappeared into the night in the blink of an eye. She ran quite fast. Li Fan stood on the window of the hotel and looked down. Song Fuya had already used the excuse of falling off the building to escape. I got it. Yin Xiaoru hung upside down from the window and suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan with a small bag filled with various medicines. How are you going to reward me? Yin Xiaoru waved the bag and asked. Don't mess around. It's filled with poison. It's not a joke if you spill it. Li Fan hurriedly said. I know. Look at how worried you are. Yin Xiaoru passed the bag to Li Fan. Keep it well. Don't blame me if something goes wrong. I know. Return the poison prevention bead. Li Fan extended his hand. Yin Xiaoru reluctantly spat out the poison prevention bead and stuffed it into Li Fan's palm. But why is this bead so salty? Ah, maybe it's because I sucked it before I gave it to you. Ah. Yin Xiaoru's face changed. You actually kissed me indirectly. Chapter 473. You were the one who kissed me indirectly, okay? Li Fan raised his protest very shamelessly, which made Yin Xiaoru very dissatisfied. You bastard. You're shameless. You're despicable. Yin Xiaoru was so angry that she wanted to kill someone, but Li Fan laughed. Okay, you're a girl, how can you be so stingy? Hey, it's because you're a girl that you're stingy, okay? Yes, I was wrong. I shouldn't have kissed you indirectly. I'll kiss you directly next time. Bastard, I don't care about you. I'm leaving. Yin Xiaoru was so angry that she ran away. Like a pendulum, she swung on the window and then quickly left the hotel. Li Fan said that this girl's qigong seemed to be getting better and better. He checked the medicine bag and found that there were all kinds of medicines in it, but he couldn't tell what they were. It was better to take it back to Mount Wudang. There should be people there who knew something about medicine. Li Fan took the medicine bag and returned to Mount Wudang. At this time, Mount Wudang had returned to its former tranquility, but there was something different. Wu Jizhi finally had a chance to be buried. He was lying in a coffin in front of the martial hall, looking peaceful as if he had really ascended to heaven. The bell of the martial hall kept ringing, as if to bid farewell to the sect leader. Li Fan saw Lu Yishan, the Wu-Tang disciple who didn't like Yang Kai. At this moment, he seemed to have matured a lot, standing in the crowd and organizing the funeral of the sect leader with other disciples. And Master Yu Shu sat on the side, silently using a unique Buddhist method to expiate the soul of his old friend. Murong Ying and Yu Shi were looking through the medicine bag. After searching for a day, Yu Shi confirmed the result. There is no antidote here. We were cheated. Huh? Li Fan was a little surprised. Cheated? How is that possible? I should have expected it. Murong Ying was a little annoyed. I can't believe that Song Fuya's nonsense. She said, the people of Medicine King Valley and Yin Gate spend their lives studying poisons and have no time to make antidotes. Now that I think about it, she was just lying to us. How can you be sure that there's really no antidote here? Li Fan was still hoping for a fluke. I've done some research on pharmacology, but I really don't have any. Yu Shi's words annoyed Li Fan. He clenched his fists. Song Fuya of the devil cult. How dare she trick me? I will settle this score with her sooner or later. Goddamn devil cult. Xu Zhenrong was also standing at the side. When he heard this, his face was filled with righteous indignation. If I catch them, I won't let them off. Alliance leader Murong, since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. This guy probably saw that Murong Ying had no value to him, so he wanted to get away as soon as possible. Devil cult, that bunch of dogs. Li Fan clenched his teeth. They and I are irreconcilable enemies. The devil sect will always be the devil sect. Their actions will always be like this. Murong Ying came to a conclusion. It seems that my internal energy might not be able to recover. Amitabha, you don't have to be so ruthless. Master Yu Shu's words suddenly made Xu Zhenrong stop. Could it be that Murong Ying could still be saved? In this world, there is another place that can cure the poison of yin men. Master Yu Shu is talking about Medicine King Valley? Murong Ying asked. Exactly. Fuck, ask them for the antidote. Li Fan was a little infuriated at that time. Those people from Medicine King Valley were all crazy. Anyway, those he met were not good people. People from Medicine King Valley are all unreasonable, unreliable. At this moment, this is the only way. Murong Ying sighed softly. I only hope that they can give me some face as the leader of Wulin. Li Fan, accompany me, how about it? Okay, I will accompany you. Li Fan was also angry. Their people poisoned my wife. If they don't give an explanation to the young master, I will destroy their Medicine King Valley. Li Fan, this little overlord, was also angry. Since that's the case, Wudong Mountain still has 30 experts who can ride on horseback to the west wind. Xu Zhenrong hurriedly came forward to ask, Leader Murong, can you bring them together to ask for the antidote? I am going to ask for the antidote, not to fight. Why do you need to make such a big scene? Murong Ying did not hesitate and flatly refused. In that case, this Xu is willing to accompany Leader Murong. You are not my husband, why do I need you to accompany me? Murong Ying did not give him any face, she ignored the embarrassed Xu Zhenrong and whistled. The gold and silver swordsman landed from the roof next to them. Li Fan immediately became vigilant. Don't worry, they are my guards. Murong Ying hurriedly explained. Although the gold and silver swordsman had also been poisoned, their physiques were different. After being poisoned, the poison would disappear in 3 days. Murong Ying had asked them to hide nearby so that they could wait for a chance to rescue her. You also have 2 handsome guards. Not bad. Li Fan was slightly jealous. Why didn't you assign a female guard for me? I assigned one for you. Murong Ying said openly, but she kind of hates you. After working for 2 days, she quit. She began to shift the blame. Look, it's all your fault. It's too annoying. You can't blame me. Fuck, I am infinitely charming. Okay. Li Fan pursed his lips. At that moment, Master Yu Shu seemed to have finished chanting. He put his palms together and said, Amitabha. Alliance Master Murong, this old monk's body is already old. It's not suitable for a long journey, so I can't accompany you. However, I have already informed a monk in the sect to go to the Medicine King Valley to help Alliance Master Murong. How did you inform him? Li Fan said that there seemed to be no other monks on the Wudong Mountain apart from Yu Shu. I sent him a text message. Master Yu Shu hurriedly stuffed his mobile phone into his sleeve. This monk is rather intelligent, so he is unique in the temple and has a special Dharma name, Body. In that case, I shall accept your request. Murong Ying found it hard to turn him down, so she agreed. I'll go and check on Li Wei's whereabouts. Yu Shi also bade farewell. Although she liked to spend time with Li Fan, it was limited to being alone. Now that there were 3 more people, it would be meaningless. Okay, let's say goodbye here. Without further ado, Li Fan did not want his wife to suffer too much. In that case, I won't accompany you any longer. Xu Zhenrong could not be thick-skinned. I'll go back and report this matter to Alliance Master Long. He has some ties with the Valley Master of the Medicine King Valley, so he might be able to help. Hence, Murong Ying had no choice but to cup her hands and watch Xu Zhenrong leave. She wondered if the request for medicine this time would be successful. Chapter 474. Regardless of whether Li Fan was willing or not, they arrived at a small town near Medicine King Valley 3 days later. The monk that Master Yu Shu mentioned is waiting for us here. Murong Ying, accompanied by Li Fan and the Golden and Silver Swordsman, sat in a black Toyota Alpha. Li Fan had to admit that this Murong villa was indeed a big business. Even this place had the property of Murong's family. That. Wife, what does Murong's family do? Why are there people from your family everywhere? Li Fan couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. Real estate. With just 3 simple words, Li Fan understood. Fuck, so they're in real estate. No wonder they can spread out such a large industrial chain. Li Fan was already a little impressed. He seemed to have found an amazing wife. Well, her identity as the leader of the martial arts world was even more amazing. He should be living in this hotel. The car stopped in front of a small hotel, and Murong Ying glanced at the name of the hotel. Nightlife. This hotel was also a bunker. How could they name it like that? It would be better to call it Cannon Room. I'm also speechless. A monk lives in this kind of place, Li Fan said. Wait in the car, I'll go take a look. He opened the door, jumped out of the car, and walked into the small hotel. In any case, this was better than the hotel that Li Fan saw in Golden Eagle Castle. At least it was considered formal. However, there were only guest rooms on the first floor of the hotel, but a row of red lights was lit on the second floor, making people have all kinds of messy thoughts. The boss was a middle-aged man. He was sleepy at first, but when he saw Li Fan, he was refreshed. Brother, do you want to play? The boss asked directly. No, I'm looking for someone. Li Fan asked, do you have a monk here? Brother, this is a formal hotel. How can I divulge the information of my guests? The boss said with a smile, rubbing his fingers at the same time. A proper hotel? Li Fan wanted to laugh. Which proper hotel would have a sex room upstairs? He slammed his palm on the counter, leaving a 1 centimeter deep palm print. Boss, do I need to ask again? Yeah. Brother. I was just being polite. The boss looked at the clear palm print and almost peed his pants. I don't know about the monk, but there's a baldy living on the 3rd floor. Which room? 303. Li Fan turned around and went upstairs, leaving the shivering bosses behind. It wasn't that Li Fan couldn't pay him. This kind of person was easy to get rid of. A few $100s was enough to get him to say everything. However, Li Fan was unwilling to be threatened by him. The name Little Tyrant was not for nothing. Li Fan went straight to the 3rd floor. There were 2 scantily clad women standing on the stairs of the 2nd floor. They were smoking and flirting with Li Fan. However, what kind of person was Li Fan? Not only did he have a beautiful woman at home, he also had many supreme beauties outside. This kind of trash, he didn't fancy. Li Fan walked to the 3rd floor and felt sweat dripping down. The entire corridor of the 3rd floor was filled with the excited shouts of a woman. The shouts were incessant, accompanied by a clapping sound that echoed in the corridor. Li Fan wiped his cold sweat. Who couldn't hold back and started doing it in broad daylight? Li Fan tried his best to ignore the concerto of love. He found room 303. The concerto was like a tsunami, coming out from inside. Fuck, Li Fan wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. Could it be that he was mistaken? He looked carefully. It was indeed 303 written on the door. Li Fan said that even if his education level was low, he couldn't be mistaken with the Arabic numerals. What exactly went wrong? Could it be that the boss was fooling him? In any case, Li Fan decided to give it a try first. He walked in front of the door and knocked on it. However, the sounds of pleasure and collision were still incessant. Li Fan was very embarrassed. Had the two of them reached the climax and reached a state where they had forgotten themselves? Li Fan was slightly speechless. But it was absolutely impossible for him to wait here. He was the little tyrant. Li Fan directly filled his voice with true energy and shouted, "Putty, where the hell are you?" Although Li Fan's voice was loud, it was wrapped in true energy, so it only transmitted to the room 303 in front of him. After all, Li Fan didn't want to alarm other guests to avoid unnecessary trouble. Li Fan's shout was effective. The sound of the concerto in the room came to an abrupt stop. A deep and powerful voice came from inside, "Wait a minute, I'm wearing underwear." Li Fan's forehead was full of black lines. It seemed that it was indeed the martial monk that Master Yushu mentioned. "Putty, this guy is actually prostituting?" Li Fan didn't know what to say. After a while, the door of room 303 was pushed open. A woman with wet hair pushed open the door and walked out. She looked at Li Fan indifferently and then used her hand to tidy up her chest that was squeezed out by the clothes. She blew a kiss at the door and said coquettishly, "Little monk, you made me feel so good. I'll give you free of charge." After that, she also winked at Li Fan. "Little brother, do you want one? The second person is half price." The woman winked at Li Fan, causing Li Fan to have a terrible headache. Seeing that Li Fan wasn't interested, the woman didn't put in much effort. She chuckled, turned around and walked away while twisting her butt. Amid her, a monk wearing a suit and leather shoes came out with a red tie. He put his palms together and said politely to Li Fan, "Excuse me, are you Li Fan, Benefactor Li?" "That's me." "Are you Putty?" Amid her. "That's me." The monk wearing a black suit nodded. He had a delicate appearance and was about 30 years old. However, he was actually a lecher. "You came out to prostitute?" Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Amid her, "Benefactor Li is too serious." Putty said, "Ever since I came down the mountain, I found that there are too many desires in this world. The world doesn't wake up, so I came to enlighten them. Just now, I was just doing my best to enlighten those female benefactors. Fuck your grandpa, you enlightened them so well that they don't even want money anymore." Li Fan wanted to curse. Amid her. It was this little monk who awakened their root of wisdom. They had an epiphany. "Epiphany your grandpa. Go downstairs." Li Fan grabbed Putty's collar, pushed him into the house, and threw him out of the window. This body descended from the sky, but he put his palms together and stomped his feet on the ground, leaving 2 footprints on the ground. Li Fan floated down as well. Subhuti grumbled in a rather displeased manner. "Benefactor Li, you're so impatient." Chapter 475. Don't you know Qigong? Li Fan couldn't help but mock Subhuti as he watched him trample on the ground. Almsgiver Li is right. This humble monk is proficient in Shailin's 72 ultimate arts, but I don't know Qigong. Subhuti smiled shyly. Damn, what a weird flirty monk. Li Fan looked at Subhuti again. "I really don't understand, why would Master Yushu recommend you, Amitabha, because this humble monk can purify the sins of the world." When Li Fan opened the car door, Subhuti's eyes lit up when he saw Murong Ying. "Amitabha, Lady Almsgiver, this humble monk can see that you are filled with sins. Why don't I help you purify them?" "Fuck you." Li Fan used the Ape King cannon and sent Subhuti flying more than 10 meters away. Subhuti smashed into a building, creating a human-shaped hole in the staircase. This is young master's wife. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll pull out your penis, you perverted monk. Li Fan said angrily. Amitabha, so it's Alliance Master Murong. This humble monk was wrong. Please forgive me, almsgiver Li. Subhuti put his palms together at Li Fan. My sins, my sins. If you flirt again, be careful of your lower body. Li Fan reminded Subhuti. Subhuti nodded. Don't worry, almsgiver Li. This humble monk was born to purify the world. However, this humble monk has a principle, and that is not to purify other people's wives. Li Fan was speechless for a long time. At this time, Murong Ying had already walked down from Alpha and saw the monk in the suit pulling himself out of the hole. What kind of monk is this? He's even wearing a suit. Murong Ying couldn't help but frown. Amitabha, Subhuti bowed to Murong Ying. This must be Alliance Master Murong. This humble monk is Subhuti. Are you the person that Master Yushu mentioned? Murong Ying probably felt that it didn't look like it. Not to mention her, even Li Fan felt that it didn't look like it. This fellow was clearly a perverted monk. He didn't look like a proper monk at all. Li Fan rolled his eyes. I've already received a message from the sect master. He wants me to help Alliance Master Murong with all my might. Subhuti clasped his hands together, seeming completely out of place with his suit. Even if we have to climb mountains of blades or swim through seas of fire, League Lord Murong, we'll do as you say. Monk, you don't even know Qinggong. What abilities do you have? Li Fan had said that this trip to the Valley of Medicine Masters to seek medicine would be fraught with danger. Bringing along a monk without any abilities would only be a burden to him and Murong Ying. Don't worry, almsgiver Li. I do have some skills. Subhuti's voice boomed out like a great bell. I'm just using the 72 ultimate techniques of Shaolin Temple to protect myself. Subhuti laughed. If you don't have some true abilities, how can you enlighten the world? Then what ultimate technique is it? The Buddha said, I can't say it, I can't say it. This is the ultimate technique of Shaolin Temple. The sect master has repeatedly warned me not to tell outsiders. Please forgive me, almsgiver Li. This is one of my principles. Fuck, Murong Ying frowned and reprimanded her in her delicate voice. Subhuti, tell me the truth. Amitabha, its invincible golden body. Subhuti answered Murong Ying honestly, almost angering Li Fan to death. Damn, this monk was still a pervert. Whenever a woman asked him something, his principles would go to hell. Invincible golden body? Murong Ying was somewhat surprised. This is a divine technique that can only be comprehended when one has trained Golden Bell Shield to the extreme. I didn't expect you to have learned it. Golden Bell Shield was also one of the ultimate techniques of Shaolin Temple. Invincible golden body was only a legendary realm. But after hundreds of years, it seemed that not a single monk had managed to master it. How the fuck did you manage to master it? Li Fan was puzzled. Once, when I was trying to enlighten a female almsgiver, I inadvertently comprehended it. Subhuti's words almost angered Li Fan to death. Fuck, he was wondering what the reason was, but it turned out that he had only managed to master it by fooling around. So the reason why a bunch of monks couldn't master it was because they were too scrupulously abiding by the rules. This was too ridiculous. It said that those who master the invincible golden body will not rot even after death. I wonder if that's true. Murong Ying sized up this flowery monk with interest. Li Fan grew wary. I don't know either. After all, it's just a stinky body. Sometimes, Subhuti's words were filled with mystery. It was hard to tell if he was a flowery monk or a living Buddha like Ji Gong. In short, this person gave Li Fan a headache. All right, Subhuti has been picked up. Let's head to the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Murong Ying waved her hand, signaling for Li Fan and Subhuti to get into the car. Let this flowery monk sit in the back. Li Fan had quite a strong opinion of Subhuti. This flowery monk, who was so daring in his lust, should be kept away from his wife. However, Since when did he care so much about Murongying? It seemed like he was easily jealous of her. Yes, no matter what, she was his fiancée. Etiquette. This was all etiquette. All right, you have the final say. Murongying actually followed Li Fan's wishes this time, which surprised Li Fan. Amitabha, thank you, Alliance Master Murong. The flowery monk, who did not know Qinggong, had no other choice but to take the car. Li Fan followed Murongying into the Alpha. Murongying gently crossed her legs, looking at Li Fan with a faint smile. What's wrong with your face, is it twitching? Li Fan reminded, this is an illness, you have to treat it. Just now, were you jealous? Murongying wasn't angry. Instead, she asked. What a joke, why would I be jealous? Li Fan grinned, who am I? People call me the little overlord. You are my woman, only a woman will be jealous of a man. I didn't expect you to be a straight man. Not to that extent. In any case, I will not be jealous because of you. Li Fan and Murongying were in a state of unwillingness to admit defeat. You are definitely mistaken. You, this person, are really boring. Murongying ridiculed Li Fan. Obviously you are jealous. Will it kill you to admit it? You still have the nerve to say that. Li Fan curled his lips. Aren't you the same? Me. Although I am a woman, I am indomitable. Murongying said openly, what's the matter? I dare not admit it. Then let me ask you, do you like me? When Li Fan asked, Murongying was stunned for a moment. Answer me, Alliance Master Murong of the Heaven and Earth. Li Fan asked. Murongying turned her head to the side and looked out the window. In front of Medicine King Valley, there is a big illusion array, you must be careful. Hey, you haven't answered my question yet. The big illusion array will mislead your senses. Murongying continued, it is very scary, you must listen to my instructions. Humph, you are also a coward. Chapter 476. Murongying simply ignored Li Fan. No matter how Li Fan provoked and teased her along the way, Murongying just closed her eyes and rested, not saying a word. The two cars drove all the way to a mountain. There was a winding road built on the mountain, but it only reached halfway up the mountain and stopped at a small town. The small town was not big, and a stone tablet that was not very eye-catching was beside it. On it were the words Medicine King Village written in seal script. Legend had it that a genius apothecary had once appeared in the Medicine King Village. His miraculous hands could bring the dead back to life. At the same time, he was also proficient in the Book of Poison. At that time, the imperial court sent people to capture him and bring him to the capital to serve the imperial family. In the end, the moment he made his move, all the soldiers of the imperial court collapsed to the ground. They were afflicted with diseases, and no one was able to approach him. In the end, the imperial court had no choice but to give up on the idea of bringing him to the capital. Then, this person took root here and established the Valley of Medicine Masters. Unfortunately, no one else was able to master both the Book of Poison and the pharmacology after him. Medicine King Valley was also divided into two gates, the Yin Gate and the Yang Gate. The two gates did not interfere with each other. However, the Medicine King Valley was still a land of peach blossoms, and outsiders were forbidden from entering. Their only contact with the outside world was through this Medicine King Village. The townspeople of Medicine King Village made a living by growing medicinal herbs. Their medicinal herbs were of good quality and there was no need to worry about sales. Therefore, the townspeople lived a relatively comfortable life. However, other than pharmacists, they did not welcome outsiders. The car stopped outside the town gate because the gate was blocked by a barricade. Two townspeople in uniform who looked like policemen were sitting in the guard tower next to them. Which company? A policeman with a cigarette in his mouth asked the man sitting in the passenger seat. One of Murongying's local economic advisors was sitting in the passenger seat of Alpha. He immediately took out a business card and handed it to the policeman. Brilliant Pharmaceuticals? This was the first time he had heard of it. Where's the pass? The policeman spread out his right hand. The economic advisor was also a smart person, so he immediately said, This is our company's first time here. We heard that there are medicinal herbs here, so we came to inspect. Don't you need your village chief to issue the pass? How can I issue it if I don't see him? You can't enter without a pass. The policeman waved his hand and directly rejected them. Boss, what should we do? They won't let us in. The economic advisor turned to Murong Ying and said, don't invest more than 10 billion here. I'll help you find another place to produce medicine to set up a pharmaceutical company. Hey, even if you guys invest 100 billion, it won't work. The policeman sneers, the rules of our Medicine King village are dead. Without a pass, no one is allowed to enter. What should we do? The economic advisor was at his wits' end this time. Li Fan opened the door and got out of the car. Where does your village chief live? Li Fan walked up enthusiastically and asked. You can't get in no matter where he lives. The policeman rolled his eyes. It seemed like he didn't even want to point the way. But at this moment, Li Fan suddenly moved behind him with a black shadow and knocked on his neck. The policeman immediately fainted. The other policeman in the watchtower directly reached for the pistol on his waist. But Li Fan reached out and grabbed his head. With a twist of his tiger claw, the policeman directly fainted. Amitabha. Sinful, sinful. Putty clasped his hands together. This little monk is a monk. I can't bear to see this bloody scene. Damn, you wine and meat monk, why are you pretending to be stupid? Li Fan returned to the car, tidied up his clothes and said, let's go and find the way to Medicine King Valley. Let's get off the car. We'll walk. Murong Ying reminded them, this village is not big. 2 cars is too conspicuous. Okay, let's walk. Li Fan thought that the 5 of them wouldn't attract too much attention. But the gold and silver swordsman with 2 swords on his back had a black face as if someone owed him millions. Not to mention that flowery monk Putty. Black suit, bald head, with a code on the back of his head, he looked like a killer 47. Plus, a beauty like Murong Ying seemed to be more high profile than driving. Forget it. Since they were already here, they might as well make the best of it. They have not seen Medicine King Valley yet. How could they be stumped by a small Medicine King village? The few of them got off the car and walked into Medicine King village. The village was indeed not big. The inside of the village exuded a strong medicinal fragrance. Even though it was freezing cold outside, Medicine King Valley was originally located in a place suitable for all 4 seasons. At this moment, the sun was shining brightly and everything was green. Amitabha. Living in this place, one can definitely live a long life. Putty seemed to like the environment here. Li Fan reminded him. Master Putty, you are a monk. Is longevity really that important? Li Fan glanced sideways at him, while Subhuti clasped his hands together and gave a very reasonable explanation. This little monk came to the mortal world to enlighten the people. To be able to live for 2 more years and enlighten more people is better than this little monk transcending early. As the saying goes, if I don't go to hell, who will? Damn. This was the first time Li Fan saw a person who talked nonsense with a straight face. He and Yang Kai could make a pair. One was pretentious, the other was a tiger in a tiger's skin. The entrance to Medicine King Valley is a bewitching array. Murong Ying stood in the village and looked around. Look, where do you think it looks like the entrance to Medicine King Valley? Isn't that simple? Li Fan laughed. Just grab someone and ask. We walked for a long time and didn't see a single person. Ask who? It's okay. They are coming. Li Fan said and looked back. There were 7 or 8 villagers, carrying hoes and shovels in their hands. They walked over aggressively. Who dares to cause trouble in the village? Arrest them. These villagers were very angry. The people of Medicine King Village were very xenophobic. Everyone, please don't be angry. Murong Ying cupped her hands at them. I am Murong Ying, the leader of Wulin. I came to Medicine King Valley to pay a visit. Bah, you woman. You look pretty but your words are so unreliable. Ridiculous. Even if the leader came, without a pass, he can't enter our village. These villagers had the same opinion. They didn't care what Murong Ying said. If they couldn't enter, they wouldn't let them in. Do you want me to help you deal with them? Li Fan asked. No need, gold and silver swordsman. With Murong Ying's order, the gold and silver swordsman immediately stretched out his finger. The sword on his back was unsheathed and jumped into the air. Just don't take their lives, Murong Ying said. The two of them understood and used their true qi to control their swords and attacked the villagers. The two swords only used the hilt to knock on the villagers' temples. It was neither light nor heavy and directly knocked them out. Chapter 477. The gold and silver swordsman's movements were clean and efficient. Soon, these villagers were knocked unconscious, leaving only one person, who was captured by the gold swordsman and thrown in front of Murong Ying. That villager's face was filled with fear. He tightly grasped the shovel in his hand and looked at Murong Ying. I have no intention of harming your lives. Murong Ying explained in a friendly manner, as long as you tell me where the Medicine King Valley is, it will be fine. That villager's face suddenly changed. The shovel in his hand aimed at Murong Ying's beautiful face and fiercely slammed down. Murong Ying did not move. She only sighed. And flowery monk Putty was standing in front of her. He used his forehead to block the shovel. Dang! Bam! The shovel slammed into his head. The wooden pole immediately broke. The shovel head flew out and smashed to the side. And Putty stood there with his hands clasped together like an old monk in meditation. He was completely fine. This guy. His body is almost made of iron. Li Fan could not help but think. Monster. The villager was frightened. Obviously, he had never seen a guy who was invulnerable. Benefactor, may I ask where the Medicine King Valley is? Putty's face was kind. Li Fan felt that this guy was asking, Benefactor, where do you go to the Western Paradise? In terms of temper, this guy was definitely comparable to Tang Seng. It was just that his degree of lust was something that Tang Seng could not catch up to. If Benefactor is unhappy, you can hit this little monk again. Putty continued, when Benefactor is happy, you can tell this little monk. This little monk will wait for you. That villager was speechless. He suddenly pulled out a small dagger from his bosom and fiercely stabbed Putty's stomach. Dang! This dagger stabbed Putty's stomach. Putty was fine, but the dagger was bent. The villager felt like peeing in his pants. Putty continued to ask patiently, Benefactor, are you feeling better? Get out of my way. Li Fan pushed Subhuti away. It would be a miracle if this bastard could get anything out of him. Li Fan picked up the villager. His fiancée had been poisoned, but this bunch of people were still busy being xenophobic. Right now, he really couldn't be polite. You don't want to talk. Looks like it's useless even if you keep your tongue. Li Fan pinched the villager's chin and pulled out his tongue. I'll help you throw him away. The villagers were both shocked and in pain. They hurriedly let out strange cries. Amitabha. This is too cruel. Subhuti couldn't bear to do this. He closed his eyes. Li Fan, give him a chance. Murong Ying patted Li Fan's shoulder and began to sing a duet with him. If he doesn't talk, it won't be too late for you to pull out his tongue. All right. Li Fan loosened his grip, and the villager turned pale with fright. He quickly pointed to a small forest in the distance. After crossing that forest, we'll be there, you've saved your life. Li Fan continued to hold the villager, for now. The five of them brought the villager to the vicinity of the small forest. In this small forest, there was a winding path that led to an unknown place. Heroes, from here, walk forward for 500 meters. You'll almost reach the entrance of Medicine King Valley. The villager continued to point the way for them. I'm just a farmer. Please let me go, no one wants to kill you. Li Fan rolled his eyes. Do what you need to do. Next time you see outsiders, don't shout to kill them. Medicine King Valley's herbs are extremely precious. In the past, there were always people who came to steal them. The villager tried to explain. That's why we're so xenophobic. Seeing outsiders is no different than seeing thieves. If this goes on, the village will be finished sooner or later. Li Fan reminded them. You might as well directly hire some experts from Medicine King Valley, or hire some external experts to protect you. You earn so much money, yet you're still so stingy. If thieves don't patronize you, who would they patronize? The villager was speechless. Then, he was abandoned by Li Fan. Murong Ying and the others followed the winding path, looking for Medicine King Valley. Medicine King Valley should be a valley. From the mountainside of this small forest, they should be able to see it. But before entering the small forest, Murong Ying let the gold and silver swordsman take out a rope. Everyone tie this rope to your body. This way, in the soul confusion array, you can look out for each other. The gold and silver swordsman distributed the rope. There was a total of one, divided it into several sections, and tied it to their body. These ropes tied 5 people. This way, after entering the soul confusion array, it should be better. In front of them was a thick fog. They didn't know whether it was a natural fog or man-made fog. Li Fan used to read the romance of the 3 kingdoms. In the water margin, it often said that there would be some Taoist priests who would make fog or something. But in reality, there shouldn't be such people. Everyone be careful. This fog is unusual. Murong Ying reminded them. Be careful. Got it. Li Fan took out his phone and used satellite positioning. In the end, he found that he couldn't receive any signal here. It seemed that using the phone to locate them wouldn't work. If he had known earlier, he would have asked Lingtian for a GPS. But his GPS always had problems. Forget it. Li Fan was thinking, but when he looked up, he found that the surrounding people had disappeared. And the rope on his waist, he didn't know when it broke. Damn, what's going on? Li Fan was a little crazy. He quickly raised his voice and shouted twice. Murong Ying. Flowery monk. Li Fan shouted several times. Each shout was filled with true energy, almost piercing through the clouds. But the surrounding was still quiet. It was as if the fog had squeezed into his ears, blocking the surrounding sounds. Li Fan's hair stood on end. Fuck, was it really that weird? He stood in this fog, momentarily lost. There was not a single sound around. Li Fan couldn't even hear his own footsteps. What kind of ghost fog is this? It actually has such an effect. Li Fan was a little uncertain. He had never encountered such a situation before. Everything in front of him seemed to be vaguely unreal. Some kind of oppressive feeling assaulted him. This feeling was very uncomfortable, making Li Fan a little nauseous. Li Fan followed the road in front and kept moving forward. He walked for a full half an hour, but he still couldn't see any direction. The surrounding was still filled with fog, as if there was no end. Li Fan had an illusion that he seemed to have stepped into death, being dragged by death into this endless place. If this goes on, I'm afraid I'll starve to death here. Li Fan simply sat down and began to think of a way to solve this so-called bewitching array. But at this moment, Li Fan vaguely saw that in the thick fog in front of him, there seemed to be a huge Buddha statue. Chapter 478. Buddha statue? Li Fan was a little surprised. How could there be a Buddha statue in a place like this? A series of chanting Buddhist scriptures appeared beside Li Fan's ears. Who was chanting Buddha? Right. It was the flowery monk Subhuti. But where was he chanting? Why was this voice right beside his ears? Li Fan suddenly understood something. He closed his eyes, and then suddenly opened them. He was still standing in the fog, and the rope around his waist was not broken. He could vaguely see the figures of the other 4 people. Subhuti stood there with his hands clasped together, chanting Buddhist scriptures. It was as if the surrounding white fog did not affect him at all. Li Fan also guessed that it was this ghost fog that could cause people to hallucinate. The moment they breathed in the white fog, they were all poisoned. Even the gold and silver swordsman would not be detoxified without 3 days. But this flowery monk Subhuti completely ignored the poisonous fog. Could it be that this invincible golden body was not afraid of poison? Invincible golden body, invulnerable to all evils. But other than him, the other 3 did not seem to have woken up. Especially Murong Ying. She had lost her internal energy. It would be difficult for her to wake up from this fog. Amitabha, Benefactor Li, you are finally awake. Subhuti seemed to be relieved. This little monk has chanted the Diamond Sutra for almost an hour, and Benefactor Li has finally woken up. What kind of fog is this? Seeing that the other three had not woken up, Li Fan knew that with Subhuti's chanting alone, he would not be able to wake the three of them. This Medicine King Valley is indeed strange. They even set up a poison array at the entrance. Li Fan smiled. This bunch of people are looking down on me, the little tyrant. Of course, there is also your contribution. Amitabha, this little monk is only helping the people of the world. Subhuti said indifferently, everything is due to the great wisdom of Buddha. All right, time to disperse the fog. As Li Fan spoke, he took 2 steps back and stood outside the fog. Then, he took a horse stance and folded his hands around his waist. Behind Li Fan, a huge dragon toad slowly appeared. Golden toad spitting pearls. Li Fan pushed his hands forward. The dragon toad opened its huge mouth and spat out a huge wave. A powerful palm wind swept out from Li Fan's body, directly blowing away the huge white fog in front of him. Subhuti was stunned for a moment. Clearly, he hadn't expected Li Fan to have such a method. Amitabha. Amitabha. He seemed rather speechless and could only chant the Buddhist scriptures twice. A huge valley appeared in front of them. The valley was covered in a thin layer of mist. There were many houses in the valley where the people who lived in the Medicine King Valley lived. Due to the white mist dispersing, Murong Ying and the gold and silver swordsman slowly woke up. Were there ghosts in the fog just now? Murong Ying was smart. She knew what was going on the moment she woke up. The gold and silver swordsman stood at the side, feeling rather ashamed. Clearly, he resented himself for not being able to protect his master. Since we're already here, we might as well go in and greet them. Li Fan stretched his body and casually asked, we should be considered guests, right? Of course, and we're honored guests. Murong Ying was also somewhat dissatisfied. Obviously, the dignified martial arts alliance leader was actually played by this inexplicable white fog. This really made her angry. Dang, dang, dang. In the valley at the foot of the mountain, the sound of a bell rang. Looks like they're also here to welcome guests. Li Fan clenched his fist. He was also extremely angry. This trip to the Valley of the Medicine Masters was really exhausting. Hurry up and get the antidote, then leave this damn place. Medicine King Valley was still very deep. The 5 people walked to the edge. There was a large lift here, but the lift was at the bottom. If the people of Medicine King Valley did not lift the lift, normal people would not be able to go down. You guys wait here for a moment. Li Fan looked at the 1,000-meter-high valley floor. I'll be right back. Amitabha, this 1,000-meter-deep valley, no matter how good almsgiver Li's Qinggong is, it will inevitably be dangerous. Subhuti spoke first, why not leave it to this little monk? With that, without giving Li Fan and the others time to refuse, Subhuti directly jumped down from the 1,000-meter-deep sky. Damn, this brother doesn't know any Qinggong at all. Li Fan was shocked. Was this flowery monk looking for death? While Subhuti's body was in midair, in the process of falling, he curled up into a ball, like a ball. Boom. The earth trembled violently. Subhuti directly smashed a huge pit in the ground. It was like a meteorite falling from the sky. This terrifying destructive power. That flowery monk, was he still alive? Subhuti stretched his muscles and slowly stood up from the deep pit. He opened his mouth and apologized to the dumbfounded Medicine King Valley disciple beside him. Amitabha, I'm really sorry, I scared almsgiver. Damn it. The Medicine King Valley disciple pulled out a large knife and fiercely slashed at Subhuti's neck. Dang. Subhuti's neck did not move at all, but the knife's edge was bent. What the hell? The Medicine King Valley disciple was stunned, looking at the bent knife in shock. Amitabha. Playing with knives and spears can hurt people. Subhuti said, reaching out his hand, grabbed the knife's edge, and directly bent it. Eat my poison. The disciple had no choice but to take out a small cloth bag from his waist and let it fall. His level seemed to be very low, so he could only use the most primitive method to set up the poison fog. The green poison fog spread out. Subhuti put his hands together and stood in the fog, motionless. Damn, just one breath of this poison fog and your blood will stop flowing. 2 breaths and your blood will reverse. 3 breaths and your blood vessels will burst. Even an elephant will die from just 1 breath. The Medicine King Valley disciple said fiercely. Subhuti, however, let out a sigh. Amitabha. Almsgiver's murderous aura is so heavy. Fuck. The Medicine King Valley disciple almost peed his pants. Why wasn't he dead? This was too damn strange. This poison was very powerful. Even an elephant would be poisoned to death, much less a monk. It would be bad if this poison fog harmed the flowers and plants. Subhuti said, inhaling all the poison fog into his lungs in 1 breath. Seeing this scene, the Medicine King Valley disciple completely collapsed. Almsgiver, if possible, please retreat. Subhuti said, it will be very dangerous here. There is a very scary person coming down from above. Monster. Save me. The Medicine King Valley disciple was so frightened that he turned and ran. Subhuti nodded in satisfaction. He walked to the side of the elevator, glanced at the elevator, and was a little dumbfounded. A sound wave reached Li Fan's ears. Almsgiver Li, this elevator, how do I use it? Chapter 479. Li Fan descended from the sky. His body stomped continuously in the air. Finally, he spun in the air and landed firmly on the ground. Li Fan landed without a sound. He was fundamentally different from Body, who had caused a huge commotion. Body seemed to be in a daze. He did not expect Li Fan's qigong to be so elegant. Almsgiver Li is indeed extraordinary. Fuck, you have the nerve to talk about others? Looking at the huge crater on the ground, Li Fan felt incredulous. This guy, is his body made of steel? Invincible golden body, this is too heaven-defying. Li Fan was tempted. Although this martial monk was a bit lecherous, if he could rope him into the escort agency, it would be beneficial to the agency's business. This lecherous monk must be annoyed to death by the Shaolin Temple. Otherwise, they would not have sent him to Murongying as if he was a gift. Body, how are you doing in the Shaolin Temple? Li Fan continued to lower and lower the elevator while asking Subhuti, who was standing next to him. Not bad. Body was slightly disappointed. But the food in the Shaolin Temple is too bland, and there are too few female benefactors. Occasionally, 1 or 2 female benefactors who need to be enlightened come, but my senior and junior brothers keep a close eye on me and don't give me the chance to enlighten them and become a Buddha. Li Fan blushed with shame. Then why don't you follow me? Li Fan began to spread the bait. I have a brother who knows many female benefactors who need to be enlightened. Really? Body's eyes brightened. Yes. Don't judge me by my looks. I also have the heart to enlighten people. Li Fan pointed at himself and laughed. But I don't have the ability to enlighten people. Body is better at this than I am. Amitabha. This little monk only knows a little about Buddhism. Body was a little shy. Then you can come with me later. Li Fan began his plan to become a human trafficker. Judging from the look on Subhuti's face, it seemed as though he was tempted as well. Then I'll listen to Benefactor Li's arrangements. What about the Shaolin Temple, won't they let you go back? The host said that I should go down the mountain to train, but I can't use Shaolin Temple's name when I go out to train. Li Fan understood what Subhuti's explanation meant. This old monk had kicked his disciple out of the door. Why don't you let him go out and smear Shailin's name? For a monk like Subhuti who drank and ate meat, to let him stay in Shaolin Temple would indeed only cause headaches for the monks in the temple. Alright, you can stay by my side from now on. I guarantee that you'll have a girl to sleep with. Amitabha. It's benefactor expiation. Don't be mistaken. Yes. Expiate. It's expiation. Li Fan laughed. It's my fault. I won't say it again. He cursed inwardly. Fuck, this darn monk sure has a good reputation. In the legends, the one who had to erect a chastity memorial after becoming a prostitute was probably the one in front of her. After the lift rose up, it finally descended. Murong Ying and the gold and silver swordsman walked out at the same time. "We're finally here." Murong Ying looked at the small town in the valley in front of her and said softly, "Let's have a talk with the Yang sect's sect master. Do you think they'll welcome us warmly?" Li Fan looked at the Medicine King Valley in front of him and asked subconsciously. "They'll definitely welcome us, but it's hard to say if they'll be warm or not." As Murong Ying spoke, she led the way into the depths of the Medicine King Valley. Li Fan shrugged and followed behind his fiancée. This woman was still so bold even though she had lost her internal energy. "Stop. If you take another step forward, you'll be killed without mercy." A voice blew in everyone's face like a gust of wind. The voice sounded old, like an old lady's. There was no one around, but no one knew where the voice came from. "I'm Murong Ying." Murong Ying said loudly, "Ask your sect master to speak." "Murong Ying, I don't know you." The voice was still cold. "Hurry up and get lost. Otherwise, I'll use poison to melt your bones." What a big tone. Murong Ying couldn't help but laugh. "I want to see what kind of poison it is." As she spoke, Murong Ying took out the poison-repelling pearl that Li Fan had just given her and put it under her tongue. Li Fan had already sealed his qi door with true qi to prevent the invisible poisonous fog from invading. Pu Tuor was invulnerable, and the gold and silver swordsman had a natural immunity to poison. Now the five of them were the bane of poisons in their professions. "The people of Medicine King Valley, if you don't come out, I won't be polite." Li Fan was very unhappy. The people of Medicine King Valley were too arrogant. "Ridiculous. I told you to get lost, didn't you hear me?" The voice became even sharper, stimulating Li Fan's eardrums. This old woman seemed angry, but Li Fan pointed to the tower next to him. "Little Gold, come with your sword." Little Gold naturally referred to the gold and silver swordsman. He didn't listen to Li Fan's words, but looked at his master. Murong Ying nodded and pointed. The golden sword on his back was unsheathed and instantly shot toward the tower in the distance. "Aya!" A petite figure immediately fell from the tower, fell to the ground, holding her buttocks and groaning. She looked to be about 12 years old. She was still a child. "Pretending to be an old woman to talk to us, isn't it a bit childish?" Li Fan squatted on the ground, smiling at this little girl. "Humph." This little girl snorted and unhappily stared at Li Fan. "I'm not a little girl. I'm already 29 years old. I'm the current leader of Yin Gate." Li Fan was taken aback. "This girl is the leader? You must be joking." Seeing Li Fan's eyes, the little girl quickly emphasized, "I'm not lying to you. I'm really the leader of Yin Gate." "Then let me ask you, do you know Song Fuya?" "Ha! That's our Medicine King Valley's traitor." The little lowly immediately clenched her teeth. "She's as hateful as you intruders." "Humph, now that you know I'm the leader, you better kneel down and pay your respect. Otherwise I'll poison you all to death." "Ha ha." Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. "The beauty standing behind me is called Murong Ying, the current leader of Wulin. I don't even kneel when I see her. Why should I kneel when I see a little leader like you?" "Leader of Wulin? Ha! I don't believe she doesn't have any internal strength." The little lowly curled her lips. "I don't have internal strength, it's all because of your Medicine King Valley." Murong Ying sneered. "Song Fuya, this debt is on you, right?" "Oh." The little lowly patted her clothes, stood up and looked at Murong Ying. "So you're saying, you're poisoned by Indra?" "Indra?" Everyone looked at each other. This was the first time they heard this name. Chapter 480. Indra, what the hell is that thing? Li Fan picked up the little lowly and asked. "Bastard, I'm not telling you." The little lowly struggled desperately. "I am the Yin sect master of the Medicine King Valley. You can't treat me like this." Li Fan laughed. "You can't beat me anyway. I can do whatever I want to you. I'm going to use poison to kill you. Try it." Li Fan disagreed. "Let's see if your poison has any effect on me." "Right, let's try that, Indra. How about it?" Indra is the unique poison of that traitor Song Fuya, the little lowly said unhappily. Although I don't want to admit it, that traitor still has a bit of talent. I've studied Indra for so long, but I still can't crack it. Then you can't either. Li Fan curled his lips. Is there no one else in your yin sect, so you are the sect master? Bullshit. You stupid thing. I am a genius at refining poison. However, Indra is a poison that was accidentally formed from some messy things. It is even more powerful than the cultivation dissipation powder. Then you still can't figure it out. Li Fan shrugged his shoulders at Murongying. It seems that this little girl can't do it. Who can't do it? When the little lowly heard this, she was immediately unhappy. This was a matter of self-esteem. Self-esteem. The yin sect master is unworthy of his name. With how smart Murongying was, she naturally knew Li Fan's calculations. She also sighed. Let's go, we've come here for nothing. You bastards. Who said you can't do it? The little lowly hurriedly shouted, I am the yin sect master. I seem to be the greatest expert in refining poison. Then do you have a way to deal with Indra? Li Fan took the opportunity to ask. Of course there is a way. The little lowly snorted, I have some friendship with a disciple of the Yang sect. If you ask him, he can detoxify your wife. In the end, we still have to ask others for help. Li Fan curled his lips. What do you know? Since ancient times, the Yin sect and the Yang sect each had their own specializations. I can use 100 ways to poison him, but I don't know how to cure any of them. If you want to detoxify it, only the pharmacology of the Yang school can do it. Your Medicine King's Valley sure is a strange place. Li Fan couldn't help but complain. Then can you take us to meet that Yang sect brother? I won't. The little lowly curled her lips. You guys don't respect me at all and even come to my Medicine King's Valley to cause trouble. What's wrong with me? I need to detoxify all of you. Swoosh. 2 treasured swords, 1 gold and 1 silver, suddenly stopped on either side of the little lowly's face. The 2 swords carried a fatal power, and the cold light made the little lowly shudder. Dang dang. But Li Fan flicked the 2 swords away and then said in dissatisfaction, You two actually made a move on a little girl, too inconsiderate. The gold and silver swordsman's face was filled with black lines. This Li Fan. Why is he always so unpredictable? Say it, what do you want to help us? Li Fan put the little lowly back on the ground and asked. I won't let you do it for free, say it. One thing for one thing. The little lowly thought for a moment, that seems to be a good idea, then I promise you. Murongying and the others looked at each other, agreeing just like that. This little lowly's character is quite strange. I want you to help me kill a person. The little lowly raised a finger. Kill a person? Li Fan raised his eyebrows. Kill who? Song Fuya. When the little lowly mentioned this name, she gritted her teeth. As a traitor of Medicine King's Valley. I want her to pay the price. Okay, I promise you. Li Fan was secretly delighted. Isn't this exactly what I wanted? This woman Song Fuya, not only did she poison my fiancé, she also played me. Even if the little lowly didn't ask, I won't let Song Fuya have it easy. You are a man can't go back on his words, right? The little lowly asked. Yes, I swear. Li Fan held up 3 fingers, and the little lowly nodded in satisfaction. She stood there with her hands behind her back, speaking like an old man, giving off a feeling of a child growing up. Li Fan found it hard to imagine that this little girl was actually 29 years old. You are still a sect master. If you want to kill someone, why don't you just kill her yourself? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Humph, we are not ordinary disciples of Medicine King's Valley. The little lowly explained, the sect masters of the Yin and Yang sect are the roots of Medicine King's Valley. No matter which generation, the sect master has a rule that no one is allowed to leave Medicine King's Valley. And that Song Fuya, she betrayed the tradition of Medicine King's Valley. So what awaits her is only the death penalty. You guys, come with me. The little lowly walked in the direction of the valley with her hands behind her back. Little lowly, can you reveal something? Li Fan couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked. Why do you look like a child? Hey, Your words are very hurtful to my self-esteem. The little lowly looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. Also, I have a name. My name is Xiong Zitong. You can just call me Sect Master Xiong. That's quite a big style. Of course. The little lowly said proudly. Do you think that just anyone can be the sect master of the Yin sect? She continued, when I was about 12 years old, I inhaled a strange poison that spread throughout my body. She looked at her wrist. There was a red blood mark on it, like a birthmark. This poison has spoiled my growth, causing me to remain in this state. How good, you'll be young forever. If it were me, I would want it too. Li Fan laughed, but the little lowly rolled her eyes. Good my ass, this poison shortened my life, I won't live to 60. Well, then I don't want it. Li Fan hurriedly waved his hand. That's why beauty comes with a price. This is it. The little lowly stopped in front of a very long road. This is the Yangguan Road, the place that leads to the Yang Gate. Li Fan took a look. This Yang Gate seemed to be a good place. The entire place was sunny and beautiful. It was really like a paradise. I can only go this far. The little lowly stopped in front of the Yangguan Road and stood there, not moving. Why? If you don't take us in, how will we know who to look for? Take this. The little lowly took out a token with the word Yin written on it from her sleeve and handed it to Li Fan. Take this and tell them to look for Luo Xiaofeng, they will help you find him. As for me, the disciples of the Yin Gate are not allowed to enter the Yangguan Road, and the disciples of the Yang Gate are not allowed to enter the Bridge of Helplessness. This is the rule. You really like to follow the rules. Chapter 481. Of course, nothing can be accomplished without rules. Little Lolita clasped her hands behind her back and said seriously, Anyway, I've already taught you the method, what happens next is up to you. With that, little Lolita turned and left, ignoring Li Fan and the others. Let's go. Murong Ying was a very straightforward person. She directly set foot on this clean and tidy Yangguan Road. Yangguan Road, Bridge of Helplessness. Li Fan said that the people of Medicine King Valley were really good at naming, coming up with these two names. Step on Yangguan Road, straight to the 9 heavens. On Yangguan Road, there was such a sign erected. That's quite a big mouth. Murong Ying seemed to be laughing at him. Tomorrow, put up a sign in front of my escort agency. Li Fan immediately applied what he had learned. Right, walk on Yangguan Road, cross the Bridge of Helplessness. You're even more arrogant. Murong Ying rolled her eyes at Li Fan. Be careful that someone comes to challenge your agency. You're very welcome. Li Fan gently clapped his hands. Sooner or later, you'll suffer. Murong Ying ridiculed Li Fan. How can one not be stabbed in the pugilistic world? Li Fan had already gotten over it. I'm not the type to swallow my anger. And even if I do, those people will only think that I'm easy to bully, and then they'll make trouble for me even more. Truly worthy of the title Little Overlord. Murong Ying nodded. All right, then let's increase your strength. The group walked all the way through Yangguan Road, facing a small house. Each house had its own chimney, smoke curling up. It seems that the pharmacists of Yang sect are busy refining medicine. Murong Ying said, still looking around, as if trying to find where Luo Xiaofeng was. And beside Li Fan, there was a small pendulum clock. Subhuti glanced at them, then stepped forward and pulled the pendulum clock. The pendulum clock let out a crisp sound, attracting the attention of a crippled old man. Leaning on his walking stick, he walked over step by step and sized up Li Fan and the others. Who let you in? The old man asked bluntly. Li Fan took out the token directly. The old man glanced at it and was a little surprised. Oh, then what are you doing here? We're looking for Luo Xiaofeng. Li Fan went straight to the point. Where does he live? The old man pointed to a house for them. But it's hard to say if you'll be able to meet him. He's not a ghost. There's nothing he can't see. Li Fan found it very strange. Why were the people of Medicine King Valley so strange? Bang! Just as Li Fan was puzzled, the house that the old man had pointed at suddenly exploded. Black smoke billowed out. Li Fan was a little dumbfounded. What the fuck was going on? Was there a bomb? While Li Fan was surprised, the old man was very calm. Again, he's lucky to be alive until now. The old man sighed. You guys deal with it yourselves. With that, the old man turned and walked away, not wanting to stay for another minute. Li Fan and Murong Ying looked at each other, both a little dazed. It seemed like the medicine request was getting more and more difficult. A man in his 20s, disheveled clothes and messy hair, came crashing out of the smoking room. He knelt on the ground and coughed violently. His house started to burn, and if this continued, he was afraid that the house would be burnt to ashes. Li Fan took a step forward and struck out with his palm. The powerful palm wind blew out the flames on the house. The young man was stunned for a moment, then his eyes fell on Li Fan and Murong Ying. Who are you? It doesn't matter who we are. We're just here to ask for the antidote. Li Fan said and once again flashed the token that the little loli gave him. Help my fiancé cure Indra. Can you do it? Poisoned by Indra? This sloppy young man's face was blackened by the smoke. Hearing Li Fan's words, he ran over excitedly and pounced on Murong Ying. What? Li Fan pressed his hand on the young man's head to prevent him from getting too close to Murong Ying. This is the first time I've seen someone poisoned by Indra. Let me check. Traditional Chinese medicine can only be diagnosed by listening, questioning, and palpation. Can't you just look a few times? Li Fan was very unhappy. He always felt that this Luo Xiaofeng was like a hungry wolf. What can you see just by looking? This Indra is invisible and colorless. It's only effective on internal energy. At the very least, let me check your pulse. All right, Li Fan, don't be so stingy. Murong Ying pulled Li Fan away. I'll have to trouble you. Murong Ying handed over her wrist. Luo Xiaofeng looked at Li Fan worriedly and anxiously placed his finger on Murong Ying's wrist. He felt the beating of Murong Ying's pulse. Luo Xiaofeng's eyebrows slightly wrinkled together. How long has this Indra been poisoned for? About half a month or so. Murong Ying recalled the time, but Luo Xiaofeng kept shaking his head. What do you mean? Is your neck cramping? Li Fan was a little worried. Could it be that Murong Ying had a terminal illness? The medicine that I refined can indeed cure her poison. Luo Xiaofeng said, it's just that she has been poisoned for too long. The poison in her body is deeply rooted. Even if I cure her Indra, the true qi in her body will not be able to recover. Why? It's like a spring has dried up. The dantian in this heroine's body has already withered. Although Murong Ying did not say anything, but from her expression, it could be seen that she was absolutely not happy at this moment. It was not easy for her to become the martial arts alliance master. Murong Ying was so proud that she could not accept this kind of result. The key point was that Murong Ying did not become like this because she was defeated in a martial arts competition. Instead, it was because she was poisoned. To her, this was simply more painful than death. Li Fan immediately asked, other than this, is there no other way? As long as I simultaneously cure this heroine's dantian, it will be fine. Luo Xiaofeng said, however, this is impossible to do. Who said so? Li Fan was full of confidence. Leave it to me. You can immediately cure her. Amitabha. Benefactor Li, are you confident? Subhuti could not help but be a little worried. This Indra is a strange poison. If it is not handled properly, Benefactor Murong may be able to ascend to heaven. Wife, do you believe in me? Li Fan did not answer Subhuti. Instead, he turned to ask Murong Ying. What are you afraid of? Just do it. Murong Ying's imposing manner was incomparable. She said straightforwardly, Li Fan, whatever methods you have, use them all. It's not like I'm going to kill you. Li Fan was very speechless. He turned to Luo Xiaofeng and said, Pharmacist Luo, shall we begin? Chapter 482. Li Fan and Murong Ying both sat on Luo Xiaofeng's bed. Rather than a bed, it was more like a hard wooden board. Moreover, the surface was burnt black and looked very shabby. Those who didn't know would think that this was a slum. There was also a big alchemy furnace next to it, which was probably the alchemy furnace that Luo Xiaofeng used for work. The alchemists of Medicine King Valley, in addition to their excellent medical skills, loved to do the most was alchemy. It could be said that alchemy was their destiny. They spent their entire lives in order to refine the best pills. Every alchemist's biggest dream was to refine the legendary 7-star pill. This 7-star pill was a kind of medicine recorded in the legends. If one could eat one, it could increase one's lifespan by 60 years, but this 7-star pill only appeared in the legends. For hundreds of years, countless alchemists of Medicine King Valley had been working hard to develop this legendary longevity pill, but at this moment, Luo Xiaofeng was holding another pill and handed it to Li Fan. After eating it, the medicine will take effect. Luo Xiaofeng told Li Fan, within a minute, no matter what you do, you must do it. Otherwise, when the medicine takes effect, this heroine will lose her internal strength forever. There was a hidden danger in this sentence. I understand. Li Fan nodded, while Luo Xiaofeng left the room. For the medicine to take effect, it needed to be in contact with the air. Therefore, Mu Rongying couldn't wear any clothes. Among these people, only Li Fan, Mu Rongying's fiancé, could see his wife's naked appearance. As Luo Xiaofeng left, Mu Rongying slowly took off her clothes and sat in front of Li Fan. This was a perfect work meticulously created by God. No matter what, Li Fan was also a veteran who had seen countless movies, but looking at Mu Rongying at this moment, his eyes couldn't help but stare blankly. Although he always knew that Mu Rongying had a good figure, but now he could see it clearly. He couldn't help but admit that his fiancée's chest shape was perfect. It was so beautiful that no one could find a single flaw in it. Her skin was also very white and tender. She did not look like a martial artist who practiced martial arts all year round. Instead, she looked like a newborn baby. This should be related to the fact that Mu Rongying usually paid attention to maintaining her body and nurturing her true qi. This was a perfect goddess, completely displayed in front of him. Li Fan didn't even dare to have too many thoughts, for fear of blaspheming this goddess. Are you done? Mu Rongying suddenly said, if you're done, then hurry up and start. I know. My wife is so impatient. Li Fan adjusted his state of mind. Now was not the time to appreciate the beautiful scenery. He fed the pill to Mu Rongying, and then placed a hand on her chest. It felt good to the touch. This pair of flawless breasts was definitely of the highest quality. However, now was not the time to savor the feeling of breasts. If she continued to feel it, Mu Rongying's life would be ruined. There was still time to play in the future. There was no need to rush this moment. Li Fan suddenly entered the heaven-swallowing toad state. Following that, his dantian was activated. A powerful suction force exploded from his palm, dragon toad absorption. Li Fan's strength exploded. His palm was like a black hole, instantly sucking in Mu Rongying's dantian. If he only used his pure yang body to absorb Mu Rongying's strength through his mouth, it would be difficult to achieve the desired effect. Because that method was too gentle, it would not achieve the effect that Li Fan wanted. Li Fan's hand fiercely pulled on Mu Rongying's dried-up dantian, as if he wanted to pull this dantian out from Mu Rongying's body. Bang! 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 The continuous explosions made Mu Rongying frown deeply. She was enduring an extremely terrifying pain. Mu Rongying did not know how painful it was to give birth, but at this moment, that kind of pain was not something that an ordinary person could endure. Mu Rongying felt as if someone was tearing her dantian apart. Her body felt as if it was about to be torn into two halves. But the two of them were persevering. Li Fan's dragon toad absorption was unable to absorb true energy, which was very dangerous for him, but he still endured the pain of his dantian shattering as he exerted force on Mu Rongying's dantian again and again. 10 more seconds. Li Fan silently calculated the time in his heart. Mu Rongying, if you are the Martial Arts Alliance Master, then bring out the aura of the Martial Arts Alliance Master. Li Fan roared, and the dragon toad absorption in his hand was displayed to the extreme. Mu Rongying finally let out a scream, and her body trembled heavily. Her breasts also trembled. Li Fan almost could not bear it. This kind of scene would definitely cause people to go crazy. Relying on his strong willpower, he endured it. Come out. Li Fan used all his strength to pull, and Murong Ying's dantian suddenly glowed with new life, and a stream of true energy was forcefully pulled out. But as if there was a reaction from her body, Murong Ying's lower body also sprayed out a crystal clear stream of water, slapping Li Fan's face, directly causing him to be stunned. What was going on? Murong Ying herself was also blushing. She did not expect that the true energy that sprayed out from her dantian could also carry water. She subconsciously waved her hand, and Li Fan's body was wrapped in powerful true energy, and directly flew out, breaking through the wall, and fell outside. How is it? Luo Xiaofeng did not know what had happened. He hurried forward and asked Li Fan, who was lying on the ground. Dragon toad absorbs water. Li Fan lay there in a daze. It's really sucking out water. This trip to seek medicine was worth it. Brother Li, did you succeed or not? Hey, why is your face wet? Amitabha, good indeed, good. Putty seemed to understand something, put his palms together, and chanted. Li Fan secretly cursed, fuck, this perverted monk. I'm fine. Murong Ying wore a rose-colored cheongsam again, as if nothing had happened, and walked out of the room. She looked at Luo Xiaofeng and said, Master Luo, you are a talent. But staying in Medicine King Valley, you will never be able to break through. Why don't you go out and see the suffering of this world, and the various forms of life? Maybe it will be of help to you in refining medicine. Li Fan could not help but want to give a thumbs up. Fuck, she was his wife after all, even her ability to poach people was so strong. But I have never left Medicine King Valley. Luo Xiaofeng seemed to be a little hesitant, and Murong Ying threw another vicious medicine. In my hands, I have the Shunnong Cauldron. Ah! Luo Xiaofeng almost went crazy. The Shunnong Cauldron, this is a top-grade cauldron for refining pills. Legend has it that it was missing, but it was actually in the hands of this heroine. This heroine, who are you, and why do you have this divine cauldron? I am the leader of the martial arts world. Chapter 483. Murong Ying's words were mighty and domineering. But Li Fan felt that the reason why Luo Xiaofeng would follow them was because of the Shunnong Cauldron. He was not an alchemist and naturally did not know much about these things. But with Luo Xiaofeng, an alchemist by his side, at least his safety was guaranteed. The group left the Medicine King Valley. When they parted, the little lowly Xiong Zitong reminded Li Fan to remember the agreement between the two. Don't worry, I won't forget what I've said. Li Fan comforted the little lowly, and then they followed the Medicine King village and prepared to return. But when he saw the two cars parked in the Medicine King village, he was dumbfounded. The two cars were smashed into pieces, and the two drivers were gone. Only the economic advisor was left sitting there, bleeding from his head, and his clothes were torn. He looked like a hooligan in the old society, wearing only a pair of underpants, which made people's hearts ache. Li Fan's heart also ached. An alpha and a tyrannical were smashed into pieces just like that. These guys were too prodigal. Big miss. The economic advisor's arms were tied, and he sat there miserably. His nose was bleeding, and he was almost crying as he complained to Murong Ying. You're finally back. The economic advisor was crying with snot and tears. Murong Ying gave him a look, and the gold and silver swordsman quickly stepped forward and untied the rope on him. Who did this to you, the driver? Murong Ying asked. It's the villagers, those demon-like villagers. The economic advisor was scared witless, as if he had encountered the most terrible thing in his life. Don't worry. Murong Ying softly comforted, no matter what you encounter, I will help you. Murong Ying's voice seemed to have some kind of magic, making the economic advisor's mood slowly calm down. Where are they? Murong Ying asked. The reason why the economic advisor was left here must be to remind Li Fan and bring a message. They are in a small factory over there. Li Fan and the others looked in the direction of the economic advisor's hand. Sure enough, there was a small factory there. Looks like it's not a pharmaceutical factory. Li Fan rubbed his chin and looked at the factory. Of course, those villagers value their land very much. They won't pollute their own village with a pharmaceutical factory. Murongying finally knew what the villagers were like. But since they dared to touch my people, I, Murongying, will not let them have it easy. My wife is mighty and domineering your sister. Hurry up and save them. The two drivers are ordinary people. They can't handle such a scene. Murongying was very concerned about the safety of her two drivers. There were not many bosses who cared about their subordinates like this. Gold and silver, go find a car. Murongying instructed the gold and silver swordsman. The two nodded and left Li Fan's sight. You two, don't make a move when the time comes. When they walked to the front of the factory, Murongying ordered Li Fan and Putty. What about me? Luo Xiaofeng carried a big medicine box and followed behind them. You just watch the fun. Li Fan patted his shoulder. My wife plans to handle it alone. After all, they are her subordinates. But you don't have much fighting power. Pay attention to your own safety. Don't look at me like this. In fact, I also practice martial arts. Luo Xiaofeng immediately said with dissatisfaction, I am different from ordinary pharmacists. I have the ability to protect myself. Don't make trouble. Who's making trouble? Luo Xiaofeng proved himself. He took out a few silver needles from a small bag. I know the most important acupuncture point. If I stab you, Humph. Come, try to stab me. Li Fan stretched out his arm. Humph, you look down on me. You can't afford it. Luo Xiaofeng picked up the silver needles while Li Fan wrapped his arm with his true qi. Blocking a silver needle was a piece of cake for him, but this silver needle directly pierced through Li Fan's true qi and pricked an acupuncture point on his arm. Li Fan's arm immediately became numb, unable to move. Fuck. Li Fan was taken aback. An ordinary silver needle could actually ignore his true qi defense. Your mother. How did you do that? It's very simple. Even if it's true qi, there will be gaps and weak points. Luo Xiaofeng explained, it's the same as the human body. Even if it's a soft silver needle, it can pierce through the hard bone. Luo Xiaofeng's explanation made Li Fan unable to defend himself. Unexpectedly, his stubbornness in medicine created a terrible chemical reaction. Even if it's true qi, there will be weak points. Li Fan fell into deep thought. Of course, everything has a weakness. Luo Xiaofeng nodded and said confidently, there are no exceptions. You're good. But can you pull out this needle? Li Fan was afraid that he would accidentally pull out something wrong, so he could only ask Luo Xiaofeng. Let him stab it for a while. Without waiting for Luo Xiaofeng to speak, Murongying had already given the order. Hey, I'm your husband. Do you want me to become a one-armed young guo? Li Fan snappily said. Humph, who asked you to be so arrogant before? Murongying's vengeance was quite strong. Last time when she was in prison, he took advantage of her. He still hadn't forgotten it. This girl really holds a grudge. Okay, I'll listen to the female boss. Luo Xiaofeng nodded without hesitation and firmly stood on Murongying's side. If you want to pull it out, beg me. Murongying said, just say, wife, I was wrong. Help me. Damn. Li Fan had no choice but to hang one of his arms first. Anyway, he wouldn't die. What was there to be afraid of? He absolutely couldn't bow to Murongying. He hung his arm and followed behind Murongying, entering the small factory together. There was a faint smell of medicine in the small factory. It seemed to be a light medicine processing plant. But there seemed to be no one in the factory. In the empty hall, there were only 4 people, including Murongying, Li Fan, and the others. However, all of this couldn't be hidden from Li Fan. He took out a mint from his pocket and stuffed it into his mouth, a total of 12 people, all experts. Amitabha. It's 13 people. Putty added, there's one person who hid very well. I didn't expect that after so many years, there would be people from the martial arts world visiting my village again. A somewhat old voice sounded in a corner on the second floor. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.